look again. Watches the play continues. This apparently is where he's called for foul number 5, and I agree with you, Bill. That is a terrible call.
One thing that everyone has to realize is that as important as the composure and patience of the players, the referees have to have the same patience and not blow the whistle until they're exactly sure, particularly with key players like Edwards, Casal, and Mourning, all with 4 fouls. One call can determine the outcome of the game.
And end the team season, perhaps. Timeout called by Georgetown. Florida State by 2 with 2:05 to go. Florida State leads for the first time in the second half by 2, and Rodney Dobard has another free throw coming with 2:05 to play. 2 timeouts for each team. Each foul from here on in will result in a 2-shot opportunity for the opponent, the arrow pointing at Florida State. Dobard makes both. They'll play themselves to sleep a little bit.
I think Georgetown played very effectively offensively throughout the game, but now that Mourning is gone, the reason to collapse and double team in the middle to leave all the other players open is no longer a factor. Now Florida State is going to get back to their wild trapping defense, just double team the ball, showing very little respect for the individual offensive capabilities of the Georgetown players other than Mourning.
Sura with 9 points, 7 of them from the line. He's 7 of 8. The lead is 7 with 1:05 to play.
A little early for Sura to start smiling. But what a difference in the expression of his face from the end of the game from the beginning.
Edwards knocked it out of bounds. Georgetown ball with 1:02 left. Hoyas down by 7. Alonzo Mourning is fouled out. Florida State on a 10-0 run. Brown blocked away by Edwards. Georgetown ball.
Edwards and Dobard now starting to take over defensively underneath the basket.
Kurzweil 3 spins up. Out of bounds off Edwards. Georgetown ball again. They're much more animated without Alonzo in there.
Now all of a sudden they're finding their confidence level.
Brown off the mark. Georgetown a 31% three-point shooting for the year. Foul called. It's on Edwards. And he is just fouled out.
Number 32,
Edwards departs with 43 seconds left and with his team leading by 7. Doug had 15 points, 16 rebounds, a career high, and 2 blocked shots. You talked about somebody having to step up with Charlie Ward out of the lineup. You pointed to Edwards as the leading candidate to do that. He made you look good. Timeout. Florida State by 7. We'll be back in a moment. State by 7 with 43 seconds to play here in Boise. Alonzo Mourning is fouled out and Georgetown has gone cold. No field goals for the Hoyas in the last 3 minutes and 10 seconds. They've missed their last 7 shots. LSU and Indiana coming up next year in Boise. Most of you will see that game. Joey Brown made the first and the second. The Hoyas facing a 5-point deficit. Cassell, long pass. Dobard with Brown hustling back, lays it in. Georgetown quickly the other way. Brown down the middle, missed the layup. The follow by Lamont Morgan, and Georgetown gets a quick timeout. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to Boise. Florida State with ball And a 5-point lead with 23.7 seconds remaining. And Rodney Dobard was just fouled. He'll go to the line for 2 shots. For those of you who just watched Ohio State beat Connecticut, welcome to Boise, site of second-round action in the West region. Sean McDonough and Bill Walton, along with Andrea Joyce. Happy to have you with us. Georgetown led through most of this game, Bill, and it started to slip away really before Alonzo Mourning fouled out. He's out of the game, and now it has really slipped away.
Mourning, even though not a statistical king in this game, was a man of huge stature in the paint, both ends of the court, drawing the collapsing defense, really forcing Florida State totally out of their game. Once he picked up the foul trouble, once Georgetown got more conservative, Florida State seemed to pick up their style. Edwards and Sal was very strong down the stretch offensively. Florida State has surged into a commanding lead.
We'll be sending all of you to the conclusion of that game in the Midwest between Memphis State and Arkansas. As soon as this one is over, the Tigers with a 3-point lead. It was a day for Cinderella yesterday. The Tigers trying to make this Saturday a day for Cinderella. 75-68. La Jolla's trail with 16 seconds left. Byron Wells has it spin out. The Chevrolet players of the game are Alonzo Mourning of Georgetown with 14 points, 5 blocks and 3 rebounds, and Doug Edwards of Florida State, a career-high 16 rebounds to go along with 15 points and 2 block shots. The Seminoles lead by 8 with 16 seconds to play. Church has to fire the 3. Rebounded by Graham. And the foul committed by Lonnie Harrell with 7 seconds to go, and they celebrate on the Florida State sideline. They'll head to Albuquerque and beyond the second round for the first time since 1972, when they lost in the national championship game to the UCLA Bruins and a big redhead named Walton.
Great victory for Pat Kennedy. Talking constantly as a good look there at Charlie Ward. Talked about the need for Kennedy to find some way to build confidence in his team. Losing their floor leader. Mourning, of course, did everything he could. The tough and I think inaccurate call by the official forced him to the sideline.
For those of you just joining us, the 5th foul was a very questionable foul against Mourning. They let Brown shoot at the buzzer. It does not go. The Seminoles make their way to the Sweet 16. The final score, Florida State 78, Georgetown 68. For Bill Walton and Andrea Joyce, Sean McDonough saying so long from Boise, Idaho. Florida State awaits the winner of LSU and Indiana. Let's send you down to Jim Nance.
Right, so Alonzo Mourning's outstanding career is over. So is Chris Smith's of UConn. A 16-4 run to close that one. Meanwhile, this is coming down to the close with 1:49 to go. Let's go to Midwest action.
Memphis State is a minute and 50 seconds away from stunning Arkansas for the second time this year and advancing to Kansas City. Anthony Hardaway, their leading scorer, and Mr. Do-Everything, is just fouled out. Arkansas held the lead virtually the entire game. Al McGuire. Then what happened?
Well, what happened also, Todd Day is fouled out. He's playing with 4 fouls. He's tentative. The thing now, if Morris can these 2, we got ourselves a 1-point game going down to the wire.
What brought Memphis State back from a 13-point deficit in the first half?
I thought the Hogs got too relaxed. They went on cruise control and got away from their game plan, which was a 1-3-1 zone. Memphis State has trouble against the zone.
Morris hits the front end. He is 3 for 3 from the line. Todd Day fouled out.
He doesn't want to end the season here. He wants to go on to Kansas City.
Razorbacks have won 9 of their last 11. That's all in jeopardy right now. Morris misses, but a big rebound by Hawkins. Out of bounds, still Arkansas's ball.
Hawkins has been Mr. Everything in the last 10 minutes.
He has scored 20 points coming off the bench. He has averaged just 6 on the year. He has saved the Razorbacks today. The lead is 2.
The 3-pointer gives him a lead. I thought they'd open up. Let Mayberry try to drive, then kick out the spot.
Here's Morris. Man-for-man defense by Memphis State.
Solid man-to-man. Shepard's good with the ball. His slash, give him a chance. That's the guy who wants the ball right there. That's prime time.
Mayberry gets it. Off balance. It's tied at 78, and here comes a 3-on-1 fast break. Ernest Smith stuck through, and it's going to count. David Vaughn.
That was close. That could have been goaltending, offensive goaltending. Looked like the ball was in the cylinder.
David Vaughn with 24 points. Mayberry leaves it for Hawkins.
Beautiful dish off by Mayberry to Hawkins, then step in underneath by Vaughn, I believe. Boy, oh boy, you talk about that Memphis City territory for ball players. These two guys are telling me earlier, this isn't a revenge game. We're not worried about recruiting in Memphis State. As I said earlier, it's like bringing home flowers to your wife for no reason. There's a reason. And the reason here is that recruiting that rich field of high school basketball players in Memphis, Tennessee.
All homegrown team of Memphis State. The foul was on Vaughn, his second, and here is Hawkins on the line.
We're under a minute. 55 seconds.
11 of 12 for Darryl Hawkins. Here's the story. Arkansas has one timeout left. The possession arrow favors Memphis State.
We're now in the chess game, Dick. Number of possessions. I might take a shot relatively early. Let's see what happens. Because then I get 2 for 1 possession.
10-second differential between the shot clock and the game clock.
No, they let that go by. Now it's 1 for 1 possessions.
Tied at 80, and let's see, Miller knocked it out of bounds, but it's still Memphis State's ball. They have 32 seconds to try a shot, and the Tigers will call a timeout. Going down to the last second.
Quick hands by Miller.
Memphis State has 32 seconds to attempt a shot. 9-second differential with what's left in the game, Al.
You got the spread. The key now is that rebound. They missed the shot.
Ernest Smith will inbound. Nearly threw it beyond Douglas.
They're going to take it down.
Marcus Nolan, a freshman, has come in the game at point guard in the last few seconds of the game. What a gutty move by Larry Finch.
Well, they want his quickness, they want his ball handling.
Had not played at all in this game.
Down to 10.
Here he is, number 15.
They want the ball to go to Vaughn. Have no choice now. They just got to put it up.
Here's Vaughn. Gets his own rebound, and the basket is good.
Unbelievable, but even though there's 5-6 seconds left, I thought maybe Vaughn should have taken it back out, but he had a chippy basket underneath.
Arkansas uses its last timeout, and David Vaughn, having a whale of a game with 26, puts Memphis State in front, but a gutty move to bring in a freshman who hadn't played at all to run the team in the last 40 seconds.
Now listen out there to this. There's almost 6 seconds. Let's show you how long 6 seconds is. 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, 1,004, 1,005, 1,000. So there's a lifetime left in this game. This game can go OT. They don't need the three-pointer. That's important. So if there's a lot of pressure up court, they'll end up throwing a loop pass all the way down for a scramble. No timeouts left, which is very, very difficult for Arkansas. Very difficult.
Great second effort by David Vaughn, who was double-teamed, got free, and then got the ball again.
That's where they wanted to get the ball to. He's had a hot hand. He's a soft touch. He follows up his shot. The guy that shoots normally knows by instinct where the ball's going. Good coaching by Arkansas with a kid called a quick timeout to save the clock.
You see Vaughn, he out-jumped 2 of his own teammates to get the ball. Not to be denied.
Oh, would I love to be coaching and have him for 3 more years and have Hardaway for 2 more years. Oh, could I be a great coach.
You were.
No, it's because I had Hardaways and I had Vaughns.
Hardaway fouled out, so did Todd Day, the 2 stars of the teams. Hawkins off the bench for Arkansas has 22, a season's high, and Vaughn with 26 is the leading point man for Memphis State. In the Southeast region in Cincinnati, Ohio State, and North Carolina, as everything went according to form there, Buckeyes and Dean Smith advance, huh?
They're flattened out on the 10-second line. They'll hook around, looking to try to draw a man up, but Vaughn will stay back. The thing Vaughn must remember is not to foul under any circumstances, because if you don't allow the three-point shot, they score, you go to OT. That means overtime. Lifetime, just under 6.
Oliver Miller will inbound, and they're not going to guard the inbound passer. Instead, they have Vaughn the safety, as you pointed out.
Clock doesn't start, he touches the ball.
Here is Mayberry for 3 to try to win the game, and the rebound is over. Memphis State wins the game.
Skying on this side, crying on that side. That's college basketball.
Not too many people thought Memphis State could beat Arkansas a second time, but they've done it, 82-80. And have knocked out the third-seeded Razorbacks. And Memphis State, now 22-10, will advance to Kansas City in the regional semifinals.
The blue and gray, I congratulate you. The Tigers were roaring today. Excellent job.
Hardaway fouled out, but David Vaughn was big with 26 points and 8 rebounds, including the winning basket. Darrell Hawkins, a career-high 22, led the Razorbacks. But that's it for Todd Day, Isaiah Morris, Oliver Miller, and Lee Mayberry. The 4 seniors have ended their career. Final score, Memphis State beats Arkansas 82-80, and the Tigers will advance and play the winner of the Georgia Tech USC game coming up next. And our Chevrolet players of the game, David Vaughn of Memphis State, Darrell Hawkins of Arkansas. Thank you, Al McGuire.
I enjoyed it, Dick.
We got another game to come. That's the story here in Milwaukee. And right now, let's send you back to our New York studios and Jim. James.
Billy, I think Al knew he had another game.
Another game?
All right, let's set the lineup now and give you some tip times. LSU and Indiana in the West. That will be tipping in 19 minutes. And Georgia Tech and USC, they start the clock now 30 minutes away from going back to Dick and Al. Let's put this game in perspective. Big picture for the day. Memphis State, the biggest surprise so far.
Well, they are a big surprise. Let's think back. 1973, we kidded Bill Walton a little bit today about the block by Lenny Elmore. But 1973, Larry Finch, who coaches, obviously, Memphis State, went to the Final Four in what many people consider the greatest individual performance ever in a Final Four.
Yes.
Bill Walton missed one shot in the game. Larry Finch's team from Memphis State lost.
Larry Keenan was the guy who had
a play
of that
play
day.
for the Nets.
Yep.
Greg Lee to Walton.
That's right.
Boom, boom. That's all it was. You know, you think back, though, Oliver Miller, Mayberry, and Day, they went to the Final Four in 1990 as sophomores. They probably thought they'd be going back a couple of more times. They never made it back to the promised land.
I think this game really typifies Arkansas. They could have put the game away a lot of times. Day came out on fire, 13 points right away. Had 14 for the game, fouled out, and Oliver Miller, Billy, on Vaughn. He never boxed out on that play. Let him go in and get his rebound and score.
A huge play. When you start talking about a senior player playing against a freshman, you've got to go ahead and put yourself in a position, put a body on a man that close to the ball game.
I thought the clock operator missed a couple of seconds after Arkansas signaled for the time. They finally stopped it at 5.8 seconds to go. We have not had an overtime game, by the way, in the tournament through 38 games, and this was one I thought we might have at last.
Jim, you mentioned not getting back to the Final Four, the Arkansas players. We had another man today who's going to end his career as an All-American, the all-time leading shot blocker in the history of the NCAA tournament, Alonzo Mourning, who never made it to the Final Four.
Boy, there's several big names that are out of the tournament. Their career's over. It all happened this afternoon. We'll come back with some scores and some interviews as we continue on the road to the Final Four. Mike and Billy, hats off to the Volunteer State. East Tennessee State with the upset last night. Memphis State today advancing to the Sweet 16. Let's get the interview after the game now live as we go back to Milwaukee. And here's Al McGuire.
Thanks, Jim. Congratulations, Coach. You were down by 13 points in that game. What did you adjust to at halftime?
Well, the thing I told the youngsters at half, and I told them before the ball game, that we had to weather the first 5 minutes of the ball game. We knew they were fired up to come out and play us. And they did it. Day hit his first 3 shots. Next thing I know, we down in the hole. But our youngsters hung in there and stayed at the half. You catch up 2 points at a time, and that's exactly what we did.
Did you want Vaughn with the ball at the end in his hands?
We were trying to get it to him on the block, and our little freshman missed for the first time, but luckily he got it to him the second time.
Congratulations and thank you. Good job. Well done.
Thank you.
Now, let me bring in, Vaughn and Hardaway. Come on in, Vaughn. Come on, both of you come in here. Get on the other side of me, son. Hey, when you fouled out Penny, what thoughts went through your mind? Did you figure that was the season?
Well, no, I knew we were up 3 points, and I knew my teammates would keep it up what we had when I was in there.
If you were in the ball game at that time, would you want to take in the pressure shot?
Yes, sir, most definitely. I think I would have cleared the ball out. They were in the man-to-man, cleared everybody out to one side, and then took it on my shoulders.
Okay, let me get on to your running mate over here. You two great young guys. David, congratulations. Put it there. That is probably the biggest shot you'll ever make in your life.
Yes, sir.
What did you think after you missed the shot, then went for the follow-up?
Well, all I was thinking, if the ball didn't go in, I just wanted to go to the board hard to get the rebound, and that's what I did. And we came up with the victory.
Are you looking forward to Kansas now?
Oh, yeah. I can't wait. I've never been to the Sweet 16. It feels great.
Well, good. Congratulations. Back to you, Jim.
Hone your skills. And there might be a slightly empty feeling in terms of accomplishment here at the college level. Although he has been a dominant player individually, his team, in the scope of things, has not accomplished a lot. 1 minute and 11 seconds to play here in Boise. Welcome back to Boise in the Midwest region at Milwaukee. Georgia Tech trying to eliminate the second-seeded USC Trojans with a 5-point lead. As soon as this one is over, we'll send you to the Bradley Center for the conclusion of that game. We're here at Boise State Pavilion in Boise, Idaho, hosting NCAA tournament action for the 3rd time, and the tournament returns to this building in 1995. We commend all of the people here in Boise. They've done a wonderful job this week in every facet of hosting the NCAA tournament. Bob Knight and the Hoosiers with a 10-point lead, and Clarence Caesar fouls out.
You're so right that the people of Boise did a great job. Don't overlook the great job that Bob Knight did in today's game. This team, Indiana, was, I think, psychologically decimated at the start of the game when O'Neal was dominating, blocking shots, dunking the basketball. He brought them back. He makes his players believe in themselves. They've come out and dominated the flow of this game ever since that man, Shaquille O'Neal, went to the bench, which what I think was a poor substitution midway through the first half.
Greg Graham made the first one. That is Dale Brown's grandson, Christopher. A 12-point lead for Indiana. This is the largest lead enjoyed by the Hoosiers. And they are a minute away from a trip to Albuquerque. Anderson the middle. O'Neal with 36 points. 12 rebounds. And 5 block shots. And those numbers you just heard for Shaquille O'Neal add up to Chevrolet Player of the Game honors.
Okay, so Indiana headed for a tournament matchup with Florida State for the second straight year. In the meantime, let's go to the Midwest, where Georgia Tech now has a 4-point lead. Here's Dick Stockton with Al McGuire.
And welcome to the Bradley Center. We have 2.5 minutes remaining in the second round matchup. And it's a good one. Georgia Tech leading USC 74-72. Dick Stockton and Al McGuire coming down to the wire.
Handled that pressure real good. It was 1-2-2. Nice spacing now. Takes something off the clock. Not a lot. USC must stop Barry from three-point land.
He has hit 6 of 9 from 3 and has 18 points in the game to lead Georgia Tech. Geiger, the 7-footer, goes up, and an offensive foul called against Matt Geiger, and that'll be his 3rd foul.
Ball clearing out with his inside left arm that time. That's what the ref called.
Georgia Tech has been on a 13-3 run. Timeouts remaining, only 1 for Georgia Tech. James Forrest is playing with 4 personal fouls. And USC with a chance to tie the game. Harold Miner, their leading scorer at 27 a game, has missed his last 6, has 16 points all told.
They say some people have more money than they know what to do
Caught
with.
that time.
USC leads as we wind down to a minute to go. Georgia Tech having to bring it up against pressure.
Georgia Tech has to be careful. Only got 1 timeout left. I might burn it right now and get the team straight.
Barry nearly slipped coming off the screen, and a one-handed shot ties the game once more. We have had 8 ties.
Barry, nobody recruited this kid out of high school, and Bobby Crimmins gets him for a phone call.
Sight unseen.
Sight unseen out of a junior college called Paris Junior College in Texas. Here we are, power against power.
Shot clock is off. SC could get the last shot to win it.
One thing you don't want to do is foul Miner.
Everyone's in the bonus. Foul by Georgia Tech would mean 2 shots.
Yep. 3 kids gonna have the ball. The shot will be taken by 1 of the 3. Miner, this kid here, Chapman.
Or Cooper. Chapman goes up with a hook. And a timeout called. 2.2.
Quick timeout. It's just going to have to be a Hail Mary pass down the court. Up high.
Rodney Chapman, who George Raveling told us at the end of the game, in a close game, he'll be in there.
Yeah, 1 of the 3 guys he wants with the ball at the end. This is 1 of the 3 of them. George Rav has his first opportunity to go to the second round of the NCAA in his career. He's been to 6 NCAAs. 2 at Washington State, 2 at Iowa, and this is the second one with the Troys.
Now, Georgia Tech has to go the length of the floor with 2.2 seconds.
He's just going to throw an alley-oop pass, in my opinion, the full length of the floor. You don't need a 3-point play. Have a scramble down there. I would try to throw the ball anywhere near Geiger because being 7'1", he pretty much will control that space around him down low.
Georgia Tech is out of timeouts. USC has not been to the second round of the NCAA tournament in 38 years. That's how close they are to getting to round 3 in the regional semifinals. Welcome to the close of this game. 2.2 seconds of a thriller. USC on Rodney Chapman's basket has broken the tie. They lead Georgia Tech 78-76. Dick Stockton and Al McGuire. And the Trojans are less than 3 seconds away from moving to the regional semis.
A la 1977 when we won the national championship in the semifinals. Score was tied. Butch Lee threw the ball the length of the court. It touched off Bo Ellis, and Jerome Whitehead tapped it in at the wire.
You need a little luck, don't you, sometimes?
In life you do, but it's better being good.
Georgia Tech had a 12-point lead in the first half. Southern Cal came back and led by 1, and Harold Miner, their big point man, has 18 points. He has struggled throughout the afternoon, but others have picked up the slack.
Coach Rav is saying, hey, don't foul. Let's set the 5 guys down back court. I put 1 man up on the man taking the ball out so he can arch the ball more. I put a tall man on him to create Well, looks like Geiger's going to take it out. Well, this is a set play.
Called home run.
It's a set play. Look for Forrest to swing around and go down. It has to be all the way down.
And SC has to make sure they don't foul.
Yeah, they can't have it. They'll have more timeouts. If they have another timeout and they catch the ball, they can call a timeout. It has to be all the way down. I would have put Geiger all the way down. Here it goes down to Travis. No, not today. There's no way.
And it's off the leg of Chapman. 0.8 of a second, so Georgia Tech still has a breath.
But, the 2 seconds should not be off the clock. The clock doesn't start till you touch the ball. The ball went off his foot. They will have to at least put 1 second back on the clock, a la Al McGuire.
Now, George Raveling just said that Georgia Tech took a timeout and they don't have any left.
That's an one. Yeah, you have to put a second back on. They got to put a... Well, maybe they're not. All right, here we are.
Raveling claims that Tech took a timeout that they shouldn't have, and it should be a technical.
They just got to throw it under the basket. Under the basket. Up.
Forrest shot.
Oh! Holy mackerel! Holy mackerel! Holy mackerel!
Remember, it's the horn. Let's listen for the horn. Forrest basket, but listen for the horn.
Or look for the light.
He made it.
He made it. Heartbreak Hotel for USC. Heaven for the Yellow Jackets.
Can you believe that? And you were just talking about how you at Marquette won on a play like that.
Oh. Wow. They'll be down there for 5 minutes. Only in the NCAA. Only in college basketball.
And he clearly made the shot before the horn. Georgia Tech has stunned number 2 seed SC. It was Geiger who got it to Forrest. James Forrest, the freshman. The hero. Georgia Tech 79 and USC 78.
2 games back to back. What games? Thank you, NCAA, for coming to Milwaukee.
And thank you, Al, for being here in Milwaukee. So Georgia Tech will play Memphis State in Kansas City in one of the regional semifinals. And we have 8 more games tomorrow of this great tournament. And the Chevrolet players of the game, of course, James Forrest, who won it with a jumper, and Harold Miner of USC, who scored 18 points. Jim Nance will take it out. Breathtaking here in Milwaukee. Final score, 79-78. Georgia Tech wins it. We'll join Jim Nance in just a moment.
Game 40 of this year's tournament, a buzzer beater comes out of the woods at last. James Forrest, a freshman, with his first three-pointer of the year, the second time this year he won a game at the buzzer. Tonight on CBS, the special real-life heroes followed by the boys of Twilight. And we want to set the lineup one more time for tomorrow. Triple header Sunday here on CBS, Tulane and Oklahoma State. Some will see Michigan State against Cincinnati. We come on the air at 12 noon Eastern. Then we'll go 4 ways around 2:20. Many will see East Tennessee State against the Fab Five, the Michigan Wolverines. And then the finale. Many will have Louisville against UCLA. Others will see Syracuse against UMass. For Mike and Billy and all of us at CBS Sports, Jim Nance, hope you enjoyed this crazy day of basketball. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
Why did Hertz invent #1 club goal service? To beat the rush hour. See, every plane and everybody seems to land at once. But with goal service, there are no counters and no paperwork. You go nonstop to your car with your name in lights. Hertz, #1 club goal. The best reason yet why Hertz beats the rush hour. Call Hertz today for low daily rates on Lincolns with free unlimited mileage.
Coming up next on CBS Sports, the NCAA Basketball Championship.
just got to throw it under the basket. Under the basket. Up. Bar shot.
What March Magic is all about, and let's show you how they got to where they are today by winning their openers on Friday.
Strong rebound by Reed, but he missed him close and stern. The guy Andy was just talking about got the rebound, but let it get away. Reed and a foul to get the automatic bid, and now his team bidding to upset Joey Myers-Ludeman. All right, Pat, as Crawford buries a three outside.
Teams will come in not thinking about us and take us lightly, you know. I think that might have happened with DePaul, and they found out Cinderella could play a little basketball.
Nobody really gave us a chance this year, and we feel that we're a good team, but I don't think a lot of other people feel that we are.
After we won the Sun Belt Conference tournament, first day of practice, Coach Fletcher said we got to get ready for the tournament, and we're not going to be satisfied with just making it to the tournament. We're going to try to make some noise.
It is exciting. We had so many big upsets. We'd like to think that we belong in the tournament, so it was a nice return home.
Dennis can do that. He can move around more than it makes you look at it. I mean, he's on the other side of the basket already.
Me waiting for 32 years to get a head coaching job, and the last 2 years been sort of like a dream.
I think that's really one of the biggest wins for East Tennessee State. You know, as far as all the 4 years I've been here, I think we had a lot of good wins, but I think this takes the cake for all of them.
Jordan had it taken away from him.
Oh, my goodness.
Anthony Reed with the ball.
And they have done it.
That's it.
This is one of the best wins in the history of Tulane. I wanted them to go out this afternoon and have fun and to win this one for themselves.
Okay, guys, what is the psyche of the Cinderella teams in round two?
You know, I think you have 5 teams counting Tulane today that are 10 seeds or lower, and a lot of excitement, Billy, to winning that first round game. And the teams they go against in this second round today have a different agenda. They're looking to advance, so the psychology of getting prepared to play is tough.
They really do. Eric Moton said it very well for his club, and the fact that we want to make some noise. I think Dick Tarrant has the best perspective for one of these lower-end teams. Our job for the Final Four is to get to the Sweet 16. That'd be a realistic goal. So it's tough for those teams to have those big upsets, Jim, to come back that next day.
They've gone to the half at Dayton. Cincinnati 42, Michigan State 35. We'll get you back for the start of the second half. Oak State leading by 6 in Atlanta as we continue on the road to the Final Four.
The Michigan Wolverines, game 2 here in Atlanta this afternoon. Oklahoma State has already moved on to Lexington. They will join Ohio State and North Carolina there. And welcome to the Omni. I'm Greg Gumbel. You know, one of the things that you have to take a look at is how people match up with the Michigan Wolverines. Here's Greg Dennis of Eastern Tennessee State.
Well, their size poses a problem for us without a doubt. They're similar to us in the fact that they have some very gifted athletes and guys that are, you know, able to do some things such as put the ball on the floor and, you know, go to the bucket and things. But right offhand, the problem is going to be their size.
Quinn Buckner alongside me. East Tennessee State. Greg Dennis looking at that, but Michigan has some problems matching up as well.
Well, they've got problems because they've got to be concerned about the three-point shooting. That's the thing that got East Tennessee State here. These guys are not afraid to shoot the shots. When they do that, what they force you to do is spread out the offense, and you'll see they are a very unselfish team. They'll pass the ball to the open man. You see right here, Calvin Talford can knock it down. They have 3 or 4 different players that can shoot it. They penetrate, they kick the basketball. You see right here, Nibley kicks it out to Rodney English. If you don't come out and guard them, they'll shoot the 3. And then when you come out to guard them, now they're so quick that they can get around you. They can find other people. That's what Michigan has got to contend with. How do they, what you call, help and recover?
East Tennessee State hit 13 of 25 from three-point land on Friday night. On the other side, though, you've got to contend with a couple of Michigan Wolverines, including the guy you like to call the man-child.
They've got 5 guys, first-year players on their team, and they're great players. But the player that you really have to watch out for is a guy at 6'9", about 240, and you're worried about some of the things he can do inside, but he's got the ability to go outside, show some mobility, coming at you. Look at him, a little Irvin Magic Johnson with the look away, and the finish by the other guy you've got to be concerned about, and that's Jalen Rose.
Jalen Rose, number 5, Chris Webber, number 4, and they compose 2/5 of the starting lineup. The whole lineup, yeah, technically they're freshmen, but they like to think that with 29 games under their belt now, you're really looking at a bunch of sophomores. Take a look at the matchup problems that both sides were talking about. Rodney English and Marty Story at forward, Greg Dennis in the middle, Calvin Talford and Jason Niblett at guard. For Michigan, Chris Webber, Ray Jackson, Jawan Howard, Jimmy King, and Jalen Rose, the starting lineup for the Wolverines. Our officials for game 2 this afternoon, Frank Scagliotta from Penargil, Pennsylvania, Tom O'Neill from Tinley Park, Illinois, and Bob Barnett from Baltimore. There is Steve Fisher, 64-31 in his 3rd year in Ann Arbor as head coach.
And Greg, what he's been able to do is get his freshmen to really grow. And Alan LaForce is a guy who has been in basketball some 30 years or so, was looking for the opportunity to get things going, got the job when Les Robertson went to North Carolina State, and Alan LaForce has made this team not only a defensive team, but they are confident that they can shoot the outside jump shot and create their own tempo. They come out from the top man to man.
Opening tap to Michigan. Rose inside. Chris Webber turnaround, doesn't go. Big rebound by Jackson. And he'll go to the line to shoot 2.
Well, Jackson is a guy that can really help them on the glass. Very good jumper, and he's a guy that I know wants to show everybody that he belongs, a part of that group. He is also talented freshman.
Foul is on Rodney English. Ray Jackson, a 6'6" freshman from Austin, Texas, had 6 points and grabbed 6 rebounds in Michigan's win on Friday over number 11 seed Temple.
I think you'll see as Ray Jackson gets more mature, you'll see a lot more of what you just saw there, and made tonight, this afternoon I should say, because he knows that he's got to get his points off of garbage, if you will, getting offensive rebounds, getting some steals, because they have enough people that they can go to in the floor of the offense.
Now, East Tennessee State, important for them to get off the mark offensively, and there's a takeaway and a foul by Calvin Talford.
Got his head up before he got the pass, and it popped in the air, and then he stopped Jalen Rose. If he doesn't stop Jalen Rose, that's a fast break. So you can't afford to get Talford in foul trouble because he's probably the best all-around player in athlete.
2 quick fouls on the Buccaneers of East Tennessee State. The lob doesn't work, and back out front, Webber chases it down.
Talking to Coach Steve Fisher, one of the things Michigan wants to try to do is make sure that they continue what's happened to them the last 6 or 7 games, or the last 3 or 4 games, to get that lead early. That's a way they don't have to struggle to get some offense. That's a mismatch that Michigan will exploit. Jawan Howard, very good down low. There's no way he can be guarded by Marty Story. The height is just too much in the favor of the Wolverines.
Marty Story 6'3", Jawan Howard 6'9". Talford. That one off the mark. Jackson with his first rebound of the day.
Michigan's real concern needs to be one of, will they stay patient? See, they can get that all day long. Now, the three-point shot is very important for East Tennessee because that is a chance that if I give up an easy hoop on the other end, I put pressure on you if I score a three-pointer. I don't put as much pressure on you to score two-pointers.
Greg Dennis at 6'11" will also shoot the three for East Tennessee State. Story open.
Now, that'll become a problem because either Juwan Howard's going to have a problem on one end or Chris Webber will. But you got to come back and defend.
The pass inside, almost taken away from Michigan. It belongs to the Wolverines.
Juwan Howard is one of the guys who said who started to take his time. You see right here, Story makes a mistake in going for the steal instead of staying behind Juwan Howard, even though he's taller by about 4 or 5 inches. You've got to make people shoot over you. Don't gamble, because if you miss it, it just makes it an easy basket.
Howard grabbed outside by Marty Story. And that's the first foul on Story.
Greg, it's very apparent that Michigan saw the Arizona game. The one thing that I thought Arizona did a poor job of was in their execution in terms of getting the ball on the strong side to either Mills or somebody down low. Then as you see Juwan Howard drill a jump shot, swinging it back to the other side because the help goes to the strong side, and then the guy can post up very easily without anybody coming out on the weak side.
Rodney English drives and tries to flip it back and doesn't quite get there. Webber trying to turn on his man. The short pop gets the bounce.
There's just no way. Dennis has got to make a decision. He's got to come out and guard. He can't be trying to get back to his man. You've got to make Chris Webber pass the ball from there.
This is Dennis faking Howard and blocked by Webber.
I thought that was goaltending because he was standing under the basket when he came out to get it.
Official said no, let him play. Webber trying to go around Dennis, off the glass, 2 more.
Well, they've got off to the kind of start they have at this point. You're trying to...
And now 10 on the shot clock, but Benjamin turns it over.
New Mexico State defensively now has to pick up. Neil McCarthy saying pick him up in the front court.
.15 left in this one. A 12th and a 13th seed squaring off, and Michael Allen putting it up from about 28 feet out. And a foul on Eric Mouton on the rebound. That's Marley Fletcher's wife Cynthia with baby daughter Allison in hand. His team had a 41-38 halftime lead. It's disintegrated to the point they're down 4.
Well, Michael Allen took a big time NBA shot on that. There's too much time to be taking three-pointers like that and get the ball inside to their big guys. And Cliff Reed with another big rebound. He has just been tremendous on the boards for New Mexico State.
17 points, 10 boards for Reed. And again, they've got it working on the bench.
Reed hitting the free throw down the stretch. He missed quite a few in the first half.
He was 3 of 8 in the first half, but that one was gigantic.
Well, the pumpkin and mice are going to turn back into the coachman.
Reed got them both. 6-point Aggie lead, their biggest of the day. Mouton to Starks. He leaves it for Starks. And a timeout. 58 seconds left in this one, and the Aggies lead it by 4. Everything in the Aggies of New Mexico State's favor. They've got fouls to give. They've got the possession arrow. They've got a 4-point lead. And they've got the rowdiest cheering section in the business. But Southwestern Louisiana would argue that point. .71-67 here. And the Aggies with that lead, and they're going to use one of those timeouts because Sam Crawford couldn't find somebody to get it to. Wise call by Crawford. Timeout. Still 58.2 to go, and a 4-point difference in this one. Brad Kessler and Ann Myers at the West Regional in Tempe, Arizona. One of these two teams will be the lowest seed to advance to the Sweet 16. And we are 58.2 seconds away from finding out if it'll be Marty Fletcher's Ragin' Cajuns or the Aggies of New Mexico State, who have the ball in a 4-point lead. Chris Hickman brings it up, and he's fouled from behind by Marcus Stokes, and that will be all for Stokes. He has had a whale of a game, but he's going to leave this one, and it may be his final appearance in college basketball. The 6'8" senior leads with 15 points and 10 rebounds.
Marcus Stokes, a very quiet leader, getting congratulations from Sam Crawford. You wonder if that left wrist really bothered him at all.
He hurt that early in the ball game, taped it up, came back, and now sits down with less than a minute to go. And at the free throw line will be Chris Hickman, an 84% free throw shooter, one of the best in the Big West tourney. Wife Tammy saying a little prayer. If he buries a couple here, it's going to be an awfully steep uphill climb for the Ragin' Cajuns. The Aggie shake going on the bench.
Chris Hickman was telling us about coming from Clearwater, Kansas, signing with New Mexico State out of high school. One of 3 players only to sign with New Mexico State, going all 4 years. William Benjamin, Ron Putzi, and Chris Hickman. And Hickman out of Clearwater, Kansas, said, "We only have one stoplight."
Yep. Smallest town, he said. I got one stoplight. It's in front of the elementary school, and you got to push the button just to be able to get it to turn green so you can walk across. He can walk on water if he hits these 2 free throws. Got one. His best 2 games of the year have come in the last 2 games. 13 points against DePaul. 14 points against Southwestern Louisiana. It's a 6-point lead. Allen takes a 3 from a mile away again. And Reed the rebound. And he's fouled by Eric Mouton. And now the Aggies can feel it. It looks like they're going to get them, or Louisville, one of the 2. UCLA and Louisville, our next game. If it's anything like this one, you'll be in for a treat in that one, too.
Cliff Reed with that 6'11" arm span, 11 rebounds in this game.
He hit his first 2 free throws, and he missed 3 in a row. He has now hit his last 3.
A 6'5" junior out of Las Vegas, transferred from Dixie College. Grew up as a Rebel fan, but said, let's go to the Shooting Aggies.
He's got 21 points to go with all those rebounds.
Okay, a 15-3 run. All of the emotion of the Kentucky now by 8. Meanwhile, back to Tim Ryan and Digger Phelps in Dayton.
1:39 remaining in Holly.
Great lob pass inside by Kansas. Now Kansas will scramble in this press. Rivera and Stewart have been the reason why UTEP's controlled this game and why Kansas is in a negative situation with the score.
Kansas down by 3 to top seeds. Tim Ryan with Digger Phelps in Dayton. It's been a thriller going to the wire. 58-55. The 9th-seeded Miners of Texas El Paso leading the top-seeded Kansas Jayhawks.
Very smart with the ball possession. Rivera will control it now, knowing the shot clock situation. Be very smart on this possession.
Eddie Rivera, number 11, the boss out there. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Delvin driving, throws it up and in. What a shot by Johnny Melvin. 60-55. Kansas trailing. Walters lets fly a 3. That's off the mark. Woodbury with a rebound. Jamison underneath. He's fouled. Tim Ryan and Digger Phelps here in Dayton, welcoming those of you just joining us. 37.5 seconds to go. UTEP trying to upset the top-seeded Kansas Jayhawks. They have a 5-point lead. Kansas at the foul line.
You can credit Don Haskins for this game plan. He knew he had to play Kansas in the 60s, and of course with Rivera at number 13, number 11 Rivera, number 13 Stewart. These two guards have dominated this game to put Kansas into a negative situation. Down 5, Kansas now needs to make these foul shots, go for the quick trap, or look for a quick foul in this situation. They've been scrambling very, very well. UTEP, smart on the game plan, will look to get the ball to Rivera or Stewart. They will eat the clock up as much as they can, but watch Kansas now really gamble, look to shoot the threes, or get on the glass and then call timeout.
Great performance by UTEP to this point. You'll see Johnny Melvin here, number 32, driving, and in that traffic somehow gets it up and cleanly in.
That's when you know you're destined to win a game. Great move offensively. Sees the players coming at it, goes up, strong, under, releases the ball, and it goes in.
Those of you who have just joined us should be aware that David Van Dyke and Marlon Maxey, their two big inside men for the Miners, had 3 fouls early in the game, sat out much of the first half. But Haskins kept his team in it. A very tight ball game all the way against a Kansas team that averages 85 points a game through the regular season. Here they are in this kind of low-scoring dogfight, and the guards of UTEP, as Digger has pointed out, really playing magnificently for the upset-minded Miners.
What's very interesting, Rivera at 5'7", Jordan could not guard him. Neither could Rex Walters from Kansas guard him at 6'4". He's able to control the ball. He's able to control the motion of their offense. Don Haskins right now is telling this team, listen, we don't need to gamble. Make sure we just play smart and value the possession. They're up 5 with the ball, going to Kansas shooting 2 foul shots, but they'll get the inbounds pass, look for good press offense. Kansas may go to a float press where they'll take one player off the ball, try to scramble to try to get a 5-second count, or go for the interception.
The Miners use only 3 substitutes: Jim Bice, Ralph Davis, and Roy Howard. They have all contributed, particularly Davis and Howard, with the early foul trouble to the big man Van Dyke and Maxey. Kansas, on the other hand, they run everybody at you, and they've used all their subs. They've used 10 people in this game, 11 make it, counting Johanning, who was in briefly.
This is a 1-on-1 foul shot. Look for Stewart and Rivera to go for a missed foul shot if that ball comes off long. Very important foul shot right here for Kansas.
Well, this could be the first #1 seed eliminated from the tournament if they don't make some miracles happen now. Down by 5, Jamison at the line. 37.5 seconds to go.
He's shooting 2 because he got fouled in the act of shooting.
19 fouls on UTEP, 9 on Kansas. And Jamison calmly gets the first one. 9 points for him, the 6'6" senior from Santa Ana, California.
I'm surprised at all that size Kansas has in right now with Ostertag as well as Pauly, unless they're looking for a missed foul shot to tip it in. Could be a strategy move here.
Jamison.
Now, very good. He subbed them back out, but the clock had not moved. It's interesting to see what he comes in for. Ostertag cannot go out of this game. Ostertag cannot get out of the game. The clock didn't move. The officials blew it. No, he didn't. He got it. Very good call. The official caught this. Pauly has to come out. Absolutely right. You cannot sub after a foul shot. If the sub that came in the game, the clock has to have 1 tick. Ostertag was the sub. Now he has to go back out.
So Ostertag does go to the bench. Now Roy Williams has Woodbury up and ready to come in. 35 seconds left. They're all over Rivera, but he handles it nicely to Stewart. Stewart, a lob down to Davis. Davis out for Maxey. 5-point lead. Walters fouled by Rivera. 4 on him. 20.7 left.
I'm surprised at the size in the game for Kansas. Now Pauly's going out. They got to go with their quickness. They got to scramble on this.
They got Woodbury back in now. Woodbury, Jordan, and Walters. So they've now got the 3 guards in.
All right, Walters shoots the 2. He makes them their down 3. 20 seconds, plenty of time. UTEP did a great job the last time looking long because Kansas had 3 players up near the ball. 4th player over half court. It created a long situation for a 2-on-1. Rivera and Stewart have not cracked for 40 minutes. Amazing how two little guys can control Kansas the whole game.
Walters, an 84% shooter from the line. Outstanding junior guard, has 14 points in the game. The transfer from Northwestern, sat out last year, has been outstanding all season long. Their leading scorer, 16.3 average into the tournament. Missed the second. Scott, yes.
Timeout.
16.3 seconds left.
Well, a missed foul shot led to the rebound, and now Kansas, with this time left, 16 seconds, look for Kansas to go for another steal on the outlet pass.
CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the second round of the NCAA Basketball Championship is sponsored by Chevrolet, the cars and trucks more people depend on. McDonald's, where what you want is what you get. And by Xerox, the document company.
To the Final Four, Minneapolis has one more stop to make here in Tempe, Arizona in second round play in the West Regional. Our final game as the Cardinals of Louisville matched with the #1 seed in the West, the Bruins of UCLA. Already New Mexico State has crammed their foot in the slipper. They're on their way to the Sweet 16 in Albuquerque to join Indiana and Florida State. And New Mexico State will meet the winner of our second matchup here this afternoon. Welcome back to Tempe, Arizona, everybody. I'm Brad Nessler. It's Louisville and UCLA, the top seed in the West. Denny Crum's Louisville Cardinals, the #8 seed. He's got the youngest squad he's ever had, and he put them through a murderous schedule this year. In fact, the 7th toughest schedule in the country. But look how it helped them prepare for the tournament. Wins at Notre Dame, LSU, Kansas, Arizona State, and over the green wave of Tulane in a tough place to play. And Myers, those young players, maybe they play better on the road.
Well, there's a purpose that Denny Crum has that schedule. Because it is so tough, those young players have now developed and peaked for this NCAA tournament.
He got a big game out of one of his first-year players on Friday, didn't he?
Well, he did. Dwayne Moore is an incredible player. He did not play well in the first half. Second half, he started shooting around, and Denny Crum said, pick up that ball and go and keep shooting because passing is not your game.
Well, #1 UCLA had a little trouble with 16-seeded Robert Morris in the first half. Then they opened things up in the second half on Friday.
I'm sorry, Brad. They have a tendency to play to who their opponent is, and maybe it's a wake-up call for UCLA, and now they're going to play against Louisville.
Well, they got two All-Americans, the M&M boys, Don McClain, who right now is just 2 points shy of becoming the Pac-10's all-time leading scorer, and the guy behind him is not bad either.
No, Tracy Murray, they need a big game from him, especially from three-point range. And in that last game, they shot 79% against Louisville in the first meeting this year.
I would think UCLA is going to have to be more aggressive today, or they'll get run out of the gym by the Cardinals.
Especially on the boards, because Louisville likes to jump and dunk.
The Cardinals of Louisville, the #8 seed, gather around Denny Crum, who's, of course, been there before. He's been to 6 Final Fours. He's won the national championship twice. UCLA has a record for national crowns. Here's the lineups: Murray, McClain, Butler, Madkins, and Tyus Edney for UCLA. For the Cardinals, Minor, Morton, Holden inside, Keith Legree, and Everett Sullivan in the backcourt. Denny Crum, he's been through it all before. He's a UCLA alum, the head coach of the Cardinals of Louisville in his 21st season with 2 national championships in the 80s to his credit. Jim Herrick, his 4th year as the head man. He's amidst the Bruins on their bench. He's won 92 games. 13th season overall for Herrick. He's 5-7 in NCAA tournament play. This is probably the best team that he's ever had, and a lot of people are wondering if he can take them all the way to the Final Four.
Well, I know a lot of people at UCLA have been very critical. You got to look at his record, and he's been very successful taking them to the NCAA tournament. But they're looking for him to go to the Final Four. And if they don't, there will be a lot of questions thrown. But he has a very talented team this year.
Anytime you have the #1 seed, you're expected to make the big dance in Minneapolis. Well, they've got to take this one more step just to get to the Sweet 16 in Albuquerque. There's Jim Herrick. They won the Pac-10 26-4 this season. Last year they were eliminated in round 1 by Penn State, but already they have a first-round win this year. Lynn Shortnassy, Ted Hillary, and Ed Hightower are officials. We're set to go. The final game in the West Regional in Tempe, Arizona, and a trip to Albuquerque Sweet 16 at stake.
look for a very up-tempo game. Both teams will play the man-to-man defense. They might switch into a zone depending on what the team is doing offensively.
Didn't take long for Louisville to put one up. And now Murray will tie one from downtown somewhere. Rebound comes off to Madkins.
Tyus Edney making his second start in the NCAA tournament. It was a little tight against Robert Morris, but he's loosening up, I think, in this game.
Butler, a tough rebound underneath. And a whistle and a foul is going to go on Don McLean.
Boards are going to be a key for both these teams. Louisville has some great leapers. Mitchell Butler, a big jumper for UCLA. Don McLean picking up his first personal. He cannot afford to get into foul trouble.
As you see the final scores from earlier today, most of the pieces of the 16-team puzzle are already in place, but we got one more to set for you here in Arizona.
Both teams pretty deep on the bench.
Holden goes outside, and the jumper goes for Greg Minor. Two 2-0 Louisville. Edney double team. McLean thought about it from the corner. Murray, their leading scorer. That's why. Tracy Murray ties it at 2.
UCLA has to be patient in their half-court game against the quickness of Louisville.
Down low, Morton lost the handle, picked up by Edney.
Louisville, a lot of quick players stepping in the passing lane that UCLA cannot afford to telegraph the passes.
McLean misses outside, and the ball knocked away by Murray. It'll be Louisville ball.
You know, the two big guys for the Bruins, Murray and McLean, you think that they would post up a little bit more. They're very good outside players, but they also need rebounding for those guys offensively.
Before we send it up there to Worcester, I was just looking through all the brackets, and the ACC comes out big this week. 4 teams have made it to the Sweet 16. They're all in different brackets. It's entirely conceivable that the ACC could just sweep the Final Four.
We're going to play it in your backyard. I don't think that's going to take place. But, you know, in this game coming up, this Syracuse-UMass game, we always talk about teams going against each other, but I think there's more than that now. UMass from the northeastern part of the United States, where the Big East has reigned supreme. I think there's a lot on the line here in regard to conference pride, and among these players who know each other so well, the Mass kids who say, we never got any respect, the Syracuse kids saying, we got to carry the supreme Big East right to the top.
And an interesting thing here, Syracuse always a team that people feel underachieves. This year with Jimmy Boeheim, they've overachieved, and we're going to find out a little bit more about UMass. We're going to find out actually just how good they are in this game.
Right. Last year, everybody had such high hopes for Syracuse, and it went out in the first round, a loss to Richmond. Okay, we're getting set for that game now. In fact, James Brown and Bill Raftery are ready to go from Worcester. East region action, Syracuse and UMass coming your way on CBS. The last 2 spots open in the Sweet 16.
All right, Jimmy, and we are ready to go. As a matter of fact, the 4th team from this half of the East bracket to make it to the Sweet 16 will be determined from among these combatants. The 3rd-seeded Minutemen of Massachusetts will take on the number 6 seed Orangemen of Syracuse. It will be a decidedly hometown crowd here to cheer on UMass. Kentucky has already made its reservations for Philadelphia by virtue of a hard-fought victory over Iowa State. Syracuse or Mass will join them. And good afternoon, everyone. I'm James Brown. Well, these 2 teams represent squads on opposite ends of the visibility spectrum. Syracuse, a perennial power. Everyone knows about them. Massachusetts, not too many people know about them, but they want to be known. As a matter of fact, Massachusetts put on an impressive show on Friday night. They ought to be recognized. My partner is Bill Raftery, and Bill, certainly the guys from Massachusetts want to show that they can play, but despite that impressive victory, a lot of people still asking the Butch and Sundance question, who are these guys from Massachusetts?
Butch and Sundance, showing your age a little bit. They are an explosive team, and they deserve this seat. They do so many things, it's incredible in the open floor. I compare them a little bit to Houston. by Slamma Jamma. Maybe not the big people up front that can finish, but you can see by these numbers they like to get out and do some exciting things in the open floor. And who better than Will the Thrill to catch and complete? But all of their people get into the flow. Their defense sets things up, and they just understand how to complete a sequence.
Mike Francesa talked about the Syracuse squad overachieving. Jimmy Boeheim has to be the most underappreciated winning coach in big-time basketball. He did the job this season. Masterful coaching job against the slowdown efforts of Princeton on Friday night. He may have to adjust to an up-tempo game now.
They don't have a true point guard, so it's his leadership, but they do have Lawrence Moten. Not a bad basketball player. And in the jargon, I guess, of players, he's a player. He's a little bit more than poetry in Moten on occasion, whether it's scoring with the great penetration and the completion, or on the break where he has to come up with some creativity. He rises to the occasion. He's not Longfellow, but he's not short on ability.
Hey, the joint will be jumping here as it's a battle between UMass of the Atlantic 10 and Syracuse of the Big East. The starting lineups there, really, I think a battle on the boards is going to be a key element to watch there, McCray and Williams.
I'll be curious to see if they establish McCray a little. Harper Williams can play low post, but likes to go out for three. You'll look for Mass to get him down on the box to get McCray in foul problems.
The officials for this game here, out of Chesterfield, Missouri, Ron Zetcher, Gary Markham from Bowling Green, Kentucky, and Mike Tanko from Dallas, Texas. Syracuse, no stranger to NCAA play. 14 NCAAs, 10 straight under Jim Boeheim, Massachusetts. First time in 30 years, and they won their first game on Friday. And we're underway. Mass controls. And McCoy, Jim McCoy with the first basket. Adrian Autry handling the ball for Syracuse.
UMass, man-to-man. They do not have to go down and help on McCray. It'll be all up to Williams.
Moten. And Lawrence Moten is fouled by Jim McCoy. That will be an important matchup. John Calipari talked to us about how important a defensive assignment McCoy has today.
And he's going to switch him if he can't do the job because it takes away from his offense. That sounds familiar to anybody who's played.
Lawrence Moten, the freshman out of Washington, D.C. Big game on Friday night against Princeton. Played under control. And the two free throws from Moten ties the game at 2 apiece.
And JB, I think UMass is quicker and runs better. Nice block on McCray.
Williams back with the follow, and he's fouled by Dave Johnson. The battle I talked about under the boards may be shaping up early. Harper Williams at 6'7" will be matched up with Conrad McCray at 6'10".
I think you'll see a little 2-3 in talking to John Calipari. Syracuse, he believes, will play a little more half court. I think he is correct because Syracuse just doesn't have the running game of this club. They are explosive, as noted.
Final Four, a primetime doubleheader both nights, starting at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 7:30 in some areas. That's the regional semifinals Thursday and Friday. And let's quickly breeze through the brackets now. In the East, Duke will go against Seton Hall in Philadelphia, and the winner of the game you're watching will face Kentucky.
Well, I think both of these clubs are physically strong enough to go up against Kentucky. The key for Kentucky, Mike, is how are their threes going in?
Shoot the three.
Okay, now in the West, the winner of the East, by the way, faces the winner of the West in the national semifinals. And the bottom side of that bracket, Florida State against Indiana. They got in yesterday. New Mexico State, a 12 seed, the first 12 to make it to the regionals since Ball State in 1990. In the Midwest, this is the bracket that for the top seeds really fell apart. One of these four, Billy, is going to the Final Four.
Hey, Jim, how about all the people that were saying they have no business allowing Kansas to go ahead and play in Kansas?
They don't have to worry about that anymore.
Huh?
I'd like to find the guy in the office pool who has all 4 teams right in the Midwest. In the Southeast, this looks like a Final Four bracket. Billy, you said that earlier.
Yeah,
looks like
great
a Final
caliber
Four.
teams. Maybe as strong a Final Four as Lexington had the last time.
Yeah, I wonder where you guys are going next week.
Looking forward to Lexington, I hope. Okay, Tempe. They just started the second half. The Bruins have scored a basket. Let's get out there with Brad Nessler and Ann Myers.
Here at the West Regional second round play in Tempe, Arizona, the top seeded team in the West. In the white, the Bruins of UCLA leading 34-25 over the Louisville Cardinals. Jim Herrick's troops have led pretty much from the onset of this one. And Denny Crum's Louisville Cardinals, Ann Myers, have been very cold from the field.
Well, they really have, and they're trying to get the ball inside. Cornelius Holden, only 2 free throws in that first half, really has to make a difference in the second half on the inside game for the Cardinals.
I think if UCLA stays in the man-to-man, it's going to benefit Louisville. They couldn't hit outside the zone in the first half. We'll see if they switch back to that. Here's McClain, guarded by Holden. And a whistle and a player control foul against McClain. Trying to back in on Holden. That's 2 fouls on McClain.
A lot of teams really like to get physical with Don McClain.
He became the Pac-10's all-time leading scorer early today on his first basket. The rebounding edge to the Bruins, and the winner goes on to meet New Mexico State. The Aggies with an 81-73 win over Southwestern Louisiana in our first game this afternoon. And our congratulations to the Aggies going to New Mexico, their home state, to play in the Sweet 16. Minor.
Now it's 5. The Cardinals within 5 of the 1 seed in the West, and we will keep you posted with video updates in the second half. You know, it seems like ancient history now, but it was 1 week ago when we announced the tournament pairings in Kansas City and said, let the madness begin. You remember that line?
Oh, I sure do.
And now as we get ready to head out for the regionals soon, here's a look in the rearview mirror at some of the madness we've encountered on the road to the Final Four.
Boom, boom, what is it? Boom, boom, come on. Hey. Boom, boom, come on.
Of course, it never counts when you score in the dark.
If you see a faded sign at the side of the road that says 15 miles to the Love Shack, yeah, Love Shack, that's where it's at. Love Shack, that's where it's at.
Hey, 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 what did I say? What I say? One more time. Just one more time.
7 seconds. Tabor, the hair fired. Terry the hair hit. 1 second to go. Unbelievable.
They just got to throw it under the basket, under the basket. Up.
Forrest
Holy mackerel! Holy mackerel!
Well, there has been some hot action for sure. I'm just curious, how many teams do you still have alive to make it to the Final Four?
Well, since I picked 3 Big 8s to go to the Final Four, I've got 2 left. I've got.
You have 1 left.
I have 2 left. What are you talking about?
Oh, you do? You have 2?
You got Oklahoma State and Duke.
I have 3.
No, Oklahoma State
I got
and Duke.
Duke and Florida State. Mike, you've got...
Oklahoma State, Indiana,
Wait a
and
minute.
Duke.
You never had Oklahoma State.
It all
Yes, I
depends.
did.
Each sheet, you got all these sheets. Each one has a different set on there.
It changes by the hour and the day for Mike. I said, let's be honest about this. We'll continue on the road to the Final Four. The Orangemen leading by 2 at halftime. Stay with us on CBS.
Williams, Herndon, and McCoy, the 5 for UMass, and Adrian Autry will pick up the personal foul trying to stop McCoy.
I don't think Jimmy Boeheim wanted to do it quite yet. They were looking to trap and excite Mass into the quick hitter.
Double bonus for UMass. McCoy, only a 64% free throw shooter on the season. He's got 2 coming.
He has been impressive today. Big-time free throws.
Big-time player.
Wow. Strong to the goal.
It's a 2-point ball game with 1:17 left to play.
Jim Boeheim wants him to stay in position.
UMass, its goal was to get some national respect and visibility. I think they've earned it today.
They sure have. And now they've got to get set and organized to get a good shot. Syracuse has to think about rebounding.
15 seconds on the shot clock. Barbee. Hope with the rebound, stolen by Herndon, and a fresh. The shot clock should be. There's a difference of 1.5 seconds.
Got to give it. Walk.
And a walk called on UMass's McCoy. 36 seconds left in the ball game. UMass on top by 2, and Syracuse calls a timeout. And if Hopkins is an inspiration, I don't know what is. UMass, the 3rd-seeded team in the East, leading by 2 with 36 seconds left to play. Syracuse with 1 timeout, Mass with 2. UMass has a foul to give. Billy, what would the strategy be?
I would make Syracuse use clock, and then as they get into position to make their run, be disruptive and give it. But don't do it when they're in the act of shooting.
Shot clock is off.
They try to post up.
This is Dave Johnson, defended by Lou Rowe. And Johnson gets the basket, and it's a tie ball game.
UMass with 2 timeouts. Gonna call.
And Anton Brown calls for a timeout. The 9th tie of this ball game, 64 apiece with 12.1 seconds remaining. Now, Billy, what option, if you're John Calipari of UMass, would you exercise offensively?
They've been successful letting Harper Williams catch the basketball and make his move. They don't want to do it too early to give Syracuse the hammer. Get it about 5 seconds to Harper. Let him make the move so they got a chance to tip it in.
Here's the basket that tied the ball game, the 9th tie of this contest.
They did not give it, and it cost them. Rowe with a nice job. Thought he was trying to pick up the charge, the theatrics, but that's one of the biggest kisses in the history of Syracuse to get him back. And that bench shows you, bada bing, why.
Now, Billy, in terms of foul situations, Syracuse with 10 team fouls, double bonus situation for UMass. Possession arrow favors the Minutemen of Massachusetts. Timeouts, both teams with 1 remaining. Both squads fighting for the right to join Duke, Seton Hall, and Kentucky in the round of 16 in Philadelphia.
Syracuse has to make the ball come back court. They've got to then play position defense, guard their guys, make the entry pass as tough as possible, and front down in that post.
For UMass, it's Harper Williams, Tony Barbee, Anton Brown, Jim McCoy, and Will Herndon, the 5 in white. Syracuse, Michael Edwards, Adrian Autry, Conrad McCray, Dave Johnson, and Lawrence Moten, the 5 in orange for Syracuse. 12.1 seconds to go.
And Jimmy McCoy likes to penetrate, so if their post play is ineffective, McCoy with a great first step, the ability to get by people. They're in his zone. End up in either a flash pivot or a long jumper.
McCoy takes the shot, blocked. And we go to overtime here in Worcester.
How about that by Boeheim? You're sitting in there, they've been facing man. A lot of guys would have gone man. He switched to the zone, made it a perimeter game, led to confusion, lack of understanding as to what was desired and what was wanted to be run by the coaches. And the rundown. We got ourselves a little extra session, JB.
That we do, Bill. And we talked again at the top about Jim Boeheim being one of the more underappreciated winning big-time coaches in college basketball. So many folks focus on what his squads have been able to do offensively, and really the guys in the profession like what he's done defensively.
Yeah, it's overlooked because of Ray and others.
Barbee. Timeout, Syracuse. Seconds left on the shot clock, a minute 30 left in the game. The vital statistics show Syracuse with 1 timeout, UMass with 2. Possession arrow favoring Syracuse. Looking for Johnson down low. Foul and score the basket for Dave Johnson.
Well, when things are going well, they tell you to ride them. Jimmy Boeheim. The post-up is so effective. The attention of all Massachusetts inside defenders on Johnson. Still able to convert. Big-time basket, JB.
What kind of basket, Bill?
Major league.
All right. Johnson looking for his 26th point of the evening. And it's a 1-point ball game with 1:15 left to play.
Looking to double up a little. Mash should start about the 20 to 18 second on the shot clock time, just to get organized a little bit so they have a chance if the defense breaks down their first option. A lot of people like to get under 10. You end up empty. And now the 2-3 by Syracuse. This puzzled them at the end of regulation.
So you say start before you get to 10.
Yeah, now they're down to 10.
McCoy loses the handle on it, but it stays at this end. 6 seconds left on the shot clock as you take a look at John Calipari and now the Syracuse bench. 35.3 seconds left in the game.
Syracuse has to watch the Harper alley-oop and force the ball outside.
Herndon didn't realize how much time was on the clock. Oh, Williams with the 3.
Give it. Why waste all that time?
three-pointer all season long, Bill.
He can shoot deep, but you don't want to take it all the time. Nature. That's the biggest noise since Paul Revere in Massachusetts.
UMass wins it.
So
the objective was respect for the Atlantic 10 and the third seed UMass. Mission accomplished. So UMass is in Philadelphia and joins Duke, Seton Hall, and Kentucky. And right now, let's join Jim Nance.
All right, JB, 48 games in 4 days. Last night we closed with a buzzer beater. Tonight, an overtime thriller, and UMass advances. We'll continue the coverage on Thursday and Friday nights with the regional semifinals doubleheader action starting at 8 o'clock. Some areas will get underway at 7:30. That's the regional semis Thursday and Friday here on CBS. Coming up next, 60 Minutes. Arlene Brickman came as close to being a mob guy as any mob girl ever has. What did she do for the mob? 60 Minutes is next, followed by Murder, She Wrote and the CBS Sunday movie Double Edge starring Susan Lucci. So for now, for Mike and Billy and all of us at CBS Sports, Jim Nance saying so long for now, and we'll see you back Thursday on the road to Minneapolis, and let's hope the madness continues.
State. They knocked off Arizona to reach this game, but they had to face the Fab Five, who were number 6 as a seed. Steve Fisher, well, he has a national championship, starting all 5 freshmen. Early on, Jalen Rose, the lob to Jimmy King for the dunk. They were in trouble early, Jim.
Well, sometimes when you live by the 3, when the defense takes it away from you, you can also, die by the 3. You got, look at that shot. A little bit short, I would say.
And another problem, multiple chances right here for the Wolverines. You watch the Wolverines playing up on the glass, and there's the king of the diaper dandies, Mr. Weber.
Still in the first half, great passing. Jackson to Rose to Howard, lays it in. Down by 15, Allen LaForce. Then Chris Weber pivots behind Greg Dennis and gets the lob. Michigan up 20 at halftime. In the second half, more of the same as Rose lobs to Weber for yet another dunk hit.
Well, then again, we're going to watch Mr. Weber. Number 4 had a brilliant day. 30 big ones. Jam that baby, Chris.
Sheer domination. Buccaneers would come back behind the 3s. Greg Dennis, then Marty Story, then Jason Niblett comes off the screen and hits the 3, and they get it back close.
That's right, John, they did, but this is the problem, right? When one team dominates the paint, Niblett misses this time. Juwan Howard rebounds. Jimmy King ahead of the pack.
A little showtime at the other end. It goes from bad to worse. Jalen Rose to Jimmy King. He lays it in, and the Buccaneers could sense it. Their Cinderella season coming to an end. Chris Weber certainly knew it. The freshman wins 102-90 is the final. Chris Weber with 30 points in the contest. Juwan Howard, 23 points. Jalen Rose had 19 points. He also had 10 assists. It's certainly the Michigan Fab Five. We can't call them freshmen anymore. These guys are genuinely sophomores and legitimately.
I'll tell you, John and Jim, I am mind-boggled by the absolute performance of these young kids. To put 5 freshmen on the floor and play the way they play is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, that's such an achievement by Steve Fisher and deserves a lot of credit. I'll tell you something, they really have that great athletic ability, and today the difference was the transition game. We're going to watch Michigan now. It all starts with possession. That's the first part of the transition game. Now they're going to kick it out to number 24, Mr. King, who's going to penetrate up the floor. There comes the pitch out, and now the attacking area. Right here, freeze it. Now right here, they should be trying to stop the ball. But as you can see, Michigan's filling the lanes. They got the ball in the center of the court. No one stops the ball. King gets right to the foul lane area, penetrates, and now he's got number 4 with the 45-degree angle drop. He's got another teammate shaping up on the wing for the 3-point shot. But he says, no, I'm not kicking it out for the 3. I'm getting the assist, baby. King to the diaper dandy. Weber, count it.
You know, you talk. Wow.
It was like the record just came to an end.
Boom, that was it. 4, 3, 2, cut. How far do you think they can go? Dick, I know you really like them, but what do you think about this, Fab?
Well, I'll tell you, I thought they were going to have a lot of trouble with that Temple zone defense. Stop laughing at me. You're not on camera now, John. But anyway, I think right now Oklahoma State is going to give them a lot of trouble with their poise, their defense, and the 3-guard system of Oklahoma State. I think the Cowboys' discipline will be the difference. But remember this, they're going back to Lexington, and that was the same place where Steve Fisher got out, went to the Final Four, and cut the nets down against Seton
Wouldn't
Hall.
it be funny if Michigan wound up playing Ohio State? You have a conference battle, you know, to go to the Final Four.
Could be very interesting. Being played in Tempe, Arizona, the #1 seed, the Bruins of UCLA trying to get back to yet another Final Four, facing Louisville. Denny Crum against Jim Herrick, a couple of former assistants of John Wood. UCLA comes out fast, and they did, Jim.
And they certainly did with rebound. Look at him. Gerald Mankins from way downtown gets his own rebound, and he hits Mitchell Butler, the easy lay-in. And once again, all right, Mankins, I'll do this shot again. Not going to get great pass, though. Tracy Murray, who was spectacular again today.
Then a little half-court Butler to a streaking Murray. Big dunk. UCLA is up by 10. For Louisville, nothing would go. Greg Minor misses badly. Cornelius Holden with a 3. Nothing doing on this one either, Dick, even on the break.
Yeah, even on a break, John. 3-on-2. Look at this. Keith Legree, bad decision by the diaper dandy, and he misses.
Denny Crum's son, not liking what he sees at this point. Louisville rallies. Legree with the steal. This time gives it up to Cornelius Holden. The Cardinals get within 4. But UCLA's M&Mers take over. Madkins with a 3. 4-point play as he's fouled. UCLA back up by 11 after a 9-2 run. Then Don McClain, the Pac-10's all-time leading scorer right now, passing Sean Elliott. His mother looking on. McClain with 23. Their defense was stifling. Madkins takes it away from Legree. And then a finishing touch as Tyus Edney ahead to Mitchell Butler. Open, jams it down. Rough day for the Crums. Mrs. Crum was gone from her seat right there. Big day for the Bruins. 85-69 is the final. Tracy Murray with 26 points and 8 rebounds. Don McClain with 23 points, so they'll face the #12 seed, New Mexico State, in the next round.
Murray was just terrific. Today was terrific against Robert Morris. I know Dick says that UCLA was going to go out in the early rounds, so he's got to meet the next game against New Mexico State, and that is going to be a tough one because of, you know, location, right? Geography again. They got to go play. They're the #1 seed. They got to go to New Mexico, although it's Albuquerque. I would assume there's going to be an awful lot of fans, though, you know, for the folks from Las Cruces.
Well, I said early casualty, James. I really did. And I was talking about if you're a #1 seed, you got to get by the first 3 rounds. I really think that they're going to have some problems, but should still have too much with McClain and Murray. They got a break now catching New Mexico State, even though New Mexico State will play them tough. Sammy Crawford's tough. And I have to say this, John. I agree with Tom Davis moaning and complaining about the fact Duke playing in Greensboro, the fact that teams play near there with their fans behind them. It's tough enough to win in an environment. The committee doesn't have to do that anymore. In fact, I thought preliminary rounds okay. Now I say no. Everybody should have an equal chance. You shouldn't have 15,000 cheering for a team in the NCAA Big Dance. That's the only complaint I have with the committee. Other than that, Roy Kramer and his guys have done a super job. Got to be a politician.
I know.
Tap them on the back.
Good job, Dick. Very good job. But I agree with you 100%. I think it's a very difficult task to go to New Mexico State. That's not going to be easy.
Yeah, but certainly the committee could have no idea that a #12 seed is going to make it there.
But let me also say, I think the committee does a great job.
All right, let's move along now to the rest of the West in Tempe, Arizona.
And good evening, everybody. I'm Pat O'Brien. Welcome to CBS Sports' continuing coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship Tournament. Well, we are down to the Sweet 16 as we begin the regional semifinals. Coming up, most of you will see Florida State take on Indiana. One game already underway in the East Regional, UMass and Kentucky leads 24-11. About 10 o'clock, our doubleheader games will begin with Seton Hall taking on top-seeded Duke, and some of you will see New Mexico State challenging the #1 seed out west, UCLA. But next, it's Florida State and Indiana. Greg Gumbel and Quinn Buckner will join you when the road to the Final Four continues right here on CBS.
semifinal of the evening. The Seminoles of Florida State take on the Indiana Hoosiers. Later tonight, it'll be UCLA and New Mexico State, and the winners of these two games will meet Saturday for the right to move on to the Final Four. And hello, everyone, and welcome to Albuquerque. Along with Quinn Buckner, I'm Greg Gumbel. Indiana comes into this game averaging 91.5 points a game in the tournament so far. They'll go up against a Florida State defense that could be troublesome, Quinn.
Well, it could be troublesome in a couple of ways. One of the things you can be assured of, they will change defenses with Florida State. If Indiana doesn't adjust to that, that means you're talking about turnovers. Florida State needs to get some good play from both Doug Edwards and Sam Cassell. They have been leading them. They need to lead them tonight.
Andrea Joyce is with us as well tonight. You'll be hearing from her on occasion. Here are the starting lineups for the Seminoles. Pat Kennedy runs a three-guard offense, and Bob Sura is in the lineup replacing point guard Charlie Ward, who last week suffered a partially dislocated left shoulder, but he is on the bench and he is available for duty tonight. It had been said that he would see no more action this season. The doctors say that's not so. The officials for tonight's game: Tom Harrington from Chico, California, Frank Bassoni from Bellevue, Maryland, Lynn Shortnessy from Duncanville, Texas. Number 24, Matt Nover, will jump center for the Hoosiers, who are in white. Florida State's number 34, Rodney Dovard, will jump for the Seminoles. Opening tap to the Seminoles, number 10, Sam Cassell.
Greg, I like Sam Cassell. He came out of junior college as one of the top players in all of junior college. Point guard. He's the one that'll run the show. He's got to get them in their offense.
Offensive rebound up by Edwards. No tap.
My goodness.
And the offensive foul is on 34, Rodney Dovard.
Oh, I mean, he was all over that one. You can see coming out right away that Florida State is going to show a little pressure, and they'll change it up. One time they don't come at you, the next time they will. That forces these young players from Indiana to think their way through the game. As you see a double dribble right there on Chris Reynolds, a little bit of jitters right here at the top.
There is Bob Knight in his 27th season of coaching, his 21st at Indiana, and his 7th straight NCAA tournament. Pat Kennedy of Florida State, his opposite number. Graham, top of the key. Rebound off to the freshman, Alan Henderson.
It's not the kind of shots that you want to see Florida State take. They need to be a little bit more patient. What Florida State really wants to do is get some shots off the back picks, and that young man right there was left open, Alan Henderson, for a 6'9" freshman. He plays with tremendous composure. The one thing you know about Indiana University, if you get them wide open jump shots, they'll make them. They shoot at a 49% clip.
Alan Henderson scoring 19 points a game in the tournament so far. Cassell.
Oh,
that's up on the rim was number 40. Calbert Cheney, and the basket count.
It's a three-pointer, too. Yeah, Calbert Cheney grabbed that one. Well, the shot goes up, and you'll see it'll hit the rim, and you'll watch, as soon as it goes to the top, watch Calbert Cheney go up, and he'll grab it, and you can see it's right off the rim. It didn't have a chance to move a Fisher right on top of it.
Swarming Florida State defense.
If you move the ball against pressing defenses, you can get yourself good shots, but you must be wise in selection because you allow people to get out and run if you're not.
Graham. Chuck Graham on the baseline.
Both teams score in the 80s, Greg, so you can be guaranteed the ball will be pushed up.
And a traveling violation against the Hoosiers.
Greg, this is what we were talking about at the top of the show. As you see Bob Knight telling his team, you've got to be prepared for the changes and make the passes to the open man. You can't dribble through a trap.
Indiana got here with victories over Eastern Illinois and Louisiana State. Florida State with wins over Montana and Georgetown.
Psychologically, this is not the same Florida State team that Indiana beat by 22 points last year. You can see Sam Cassell plays with tremendous confidence, as do all his teammates, because they've been through the ACC and they know that they played against this kind of caliber competition already.
Florida State coming off its first season in the ACC, a second-place finish, and Pat Kennedy says that ACC week in and week out helps toughen his team.
Oh, it does, because you know you're playing against Duke. You play them twice. You're playing the best team in the country, North Carolina. You can go down the lineup, and it does make you much better prepared to play in the tournament.
Henderson into the lane, had it rejected by Doug Edwards. This is Sura.
I mean, but that's a great get out off the turnover there for the block shot. Nobody back, but I'm talking about Sura really pushed it up.
That's a backcourt foul on Cassell.
I'm joined here by Mike Francesa and Bill Raftery. We're keeping our eye on the other game for you out in the East in Philadelphia, UMass and Kentucky. And fellas, Kentucky all over it.
It's been all Kentucky, Pat. 29 points inside. And Ralph Calipari told us, John Calipari, that they were going to play a man-to-man inside, guard Kentucky on the perimeter, and it's really backfired in the first half.
They just haven't been able to cope with the low post defense. And the other point that he mentioned to both of us, he was going to force the ball sideline on the dribble, and there have been at least 4 penetrations from the top for easy conversions.
UMass has turned it over, Pat, 7 times. They haven't shot well, and right now they need to hold their composure in the last 5 minutes of this first half. They're in trouble.
And, Michael, how about the press? What happened? They're going to get something out of the press, man.
They've got nothing off the press because they didn't want it to get up to around 60 points. Kentucky already has 44 on the board.
They may not have a choice.
Indiana. Let's bring everybody up to date what's coming up tonight. Seton Hall, of course, against the defending champions Duke Blue Devils. That's our big game. Some of you will see New Mexico State against UCLA. In case you missed it, former heavyweight champion Mike Tyson, who was convicted of rape, received...
Minute 10. Edwards, three-pointer. Way off the mark. And Meeks leads a 2-on-1 now and will bring it back out and slow it down. Out of bounds to Indiana.
On that play, Meeks has got to make a quicker decision. He made the decision almost too far to the baseline as to whether to bring it out or not. And if you're looking at Bob Knight, you see the Seton Hall Duke score. You know, there's been this conversation about this banquet. And I asked Bob Knight about it. And what happened with the banquet was he had on a list some things he wanted done. And one of them was this banquet. As you see a great steal by Sura.
Sura going to take the 3.
Oh. If it goes in, that's a great play, but that's a chancy play to take. But as I was saying about the banquet, he had a list of things to do. And granted, the loss to Purdue was a thing that exacted him to make the reaction. And it was one that was a totally reactionary situation. And if he had to do it over again, he would change the timing, but he has never liked the banquet. When I asked him, you know, would you change it? Yeah, I changed the timing, but I wouldn't change the thought of having the banquet. Now, I don't argue with that. I would do it differently. I would have waited and done it entirely differently, but Bob Knight didn't exactly call me up and ask me what I thought about the whole situation.
Doug Edwards committed his 4th personal foul. And here's Greg Graham. Remember, Duke, Seton Hall coming up. Our second game here in the pit. New Mexico State, UCLA. And a timeout on the floor with 37.4 to play. Indiana in control. The game, Doug Edwards of Florida State with 22 points. Eric Anderson of Indiana with a season-high 24. And are there some creative people here or what?
I think that's great.
Graham, three-pointer out of the corner, doesn't fall. And Calvert Chaney with a big rebound.
That was a big rebound, is right. I mean, he got up. I haven't seen him get up like that in a while.
And Sam Cassell just pulled his 5th personal foul.
Yeah, he didn't have much choice. They got to try to stop the clock to get something to happen. But as you and I had talked about during the course of the game, foul shooting was going to be one of the things that I thought would determine this game, because you could tell just on baskets alone, these two teams were scoring at about the same rate.
And there goes one exciting ball player to watch, Sam Cassell.
Well, guess what? He'll be back. And that's what you got to have the ACC concerned. You know, they get their lineup back.
Pat Kennedy has one senior on the roster, and it was Ron Miller, who is not here due to an ankle sprain. 16 for Calvert Cheney as Indiana goes about icing this one from the free throw line.
We were worried about Charlie Ward playing. I mean, he showed up here. I guess his shoulder might have been bothering a little bit on that one. No, I don't think so, though.
Great. And Graham puts the exclamation point on an Indiana victory. Wells' three-pointer doesn't go, and Graham follows, and that'll do it.
Well, Indiana got the tempo to be their kind of game. They had stopped the clock, and it's over. But the tempo was the key. Indiana didn't turn it over with the pressure, and not turning it over allowed them to get an 85-76-74 victory.
Indiana 85, Florida State 74. Indiana moves on to the regional championship here Saturday against the winner of the game still to come. Top seeded UCLA and 12th seed New Mexico State. Once again, 85-74, Indiana wins it. Let's send you back to New York and Pat O'Brien.
All right, Pat O'Brien back in our New York studio. These guys are loaded with things to talk about. Mike Francesa and Bill Raftery coming up, of course, at 10:07 tonight, the big game, Seton Hall and defending champions Duke. That'll be next year on CBS. Some of you will see New Mexico State and UCLA. That starts about 30 minutes from now, but the next game on your screen will be Duke and Seton Hall. And, well, can Duke get beat tonight?
I think that this is one of the real obstacles for them in the tournament, Pat. I think that Raf feels it'll be a very close game. And Seton Hall, a team that I think is still a year away, Raf, but if their guards play well, under control, can make this a very tough ball game.
You've been picking them all year long, right? I think balancing the floor is a key here and resetting the offense. Don't unload. Make sure you get back. And you might see some different things like putting out the fire or jamming Bobby Hurley so they can't start the break. But Seton Hall, defense essential, and the type of shots they take.
Do you catch good teams on a night like this, or do you catch them later?
You can catch them anytime, Pat, but usually teams like Duke don't lose to the Final Four.
All right, down the road to the Final Four will continue here on CBS after a word from your local stations. Stay with us. Let's enjoy the game.
CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship Regional Semifinal game is sponsored by Mazda Cars and Trucks. Mazda, it just feels right. White Men Can't Jump, a new movie from 20th Century Fox starring Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson, starts tomorrow. And by Bud Light, everything else is just a light.
From the Spectrum in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, it's the second semifinal in the East region. The Seton Hall Pirates out of the Big East against the Duke Blue Devils from the Atlantic Coast Conference. Winner of this game meets Kentucky Saturday night at 7 o'clock as Kentucky advanced with a 10-point victory over UMass in Game 1 tonight. Hi once again, everybody. I'm Vern Lundquist, and welcome back to the Spectrum. 1 year ago this month, Duke won the NCAA title by defeating Kansas. When this season started, they were ranked #1. They held that spot every week throughout the season. They are the #1 seed coming into the NCAA tournament, and they are trying now to accomplish what no team has done since UCLA in 1973, and that is repeat as NCAA basketball champions. I'm with Len Elmore, and Lenny, when you're trying to accomplish that, it helps to have a three-time All-American named Christian Laettner.
And it certainly helps if that All-American exemplifies what your team has accomplished throughout the year. Christian Laettner's as good as they come, and it's his focus and his determination, his competitiveness, not letting his team lose, that makes him so tough. And of course, he's got a little bit of skill out there. He's so tough outside with the three-pointer as well as inside. It's going to be a tough matchup for Seton Hall.
The Duke Blue Devils come in with 30 wins and 2 defeats. Seton Hall is 23-8. Started out the season with great hopes, had some stumbling problems, but they finished as Tri-Big East champions. And though they are a young team, they do have a matchup that you think might be key in the ballgame.
Well, I certainly think that their sophomore point guard, Brian Caver, is key, particularly against Bobby Hurley at the point. Bobby Hurley's done a great job of keeping people from penetrating into the heart of the Duke defense. Caver has the quickness to get around him, and if he does, he's got to utilize great judgment in either shooting the ball or getting it to people that are wide open.
Now let's check the lineups. First of all, on the left for Seton Hall, Gordon Winchester, Jerry Walker, number 21, Arturas Karnisovas, Brian Caver, and Terry DeHare. And for the Duke Blue Devils, Antonio Lang, Brian Davis, Christian Leitner, Bobby Hurley, and Thomas Hill. And of course, Grant Hill will come off the bench. He is another of those averaging in double figures. Ed Hightower, Ted Hillary, and Ron Zetter are the three officials from Alton, Illinois, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Chesterfield, Missouri, respectively. It's Duke 30-2, Seton Hall 23-8. The last time these two teams met, the semifinals in the Final Four in 1989. Then it was a big Seton Hall victory. Duke controls the tip. And it's Caver on Hurley.
It's also a key that Caver can play contained defense on Bobby Hurley, not allow him to penetrate.
Underneath, Antonio Lang for two.
Antonio Lang's done a great job as a starter in place of Grant Hill when he was injured.
For Seton Hall, Brian Caver.
Good decision right there. Go at Bobby Hurley, establish the tempo right away. Let him know I'm coming at you the rest of this game.
Thomas Hill, rebound Karnisovas. Caver forces the pace. Into the corner it goes to Terry DeHare. And Brian Davis will get the task of guarding him, the best defender among the Blue Devils.
And you know, Duke is cognizant of how important Caver is. When he gives up the ball, keep an eye on Bobby Hurley, playing deny, not allowing him to receive it again.
Here's DeHare going by Davis, gets a nice screen and misses a shot. Early for Leitner, and Karnisovas gets him when he's out on the perimeter. Foul is called on Winchester. Seton Hall was thumped early. Terry DeHare gets two more.
Duke foul number 32, Christian Leitner. That's his third personal foul.
There's a look at Christian Leitner. He's 9 back of Elvin Hayes now. All-time NCAA scoring list. Pretty good names on that list of 5, huh? So Christian Leitner in all likelihood will surpass Elvin Hayes when they play Kentucky here on Saturday night. Foul by Jerry Walker. Well, the only man Seton Hall loses from its starting 5 is Gordon Winchester, who had a terrific game tonight in his final appearance for the Pirates. But they've got Caver and Walker and DeHare and Karnisovas and Hurley and Leahy and Luther Wright all coming back.
Well, I tell you, and you look at that kind of lineup and you hope that they progress that year, because like Mike Francesa said during, I think before this game, that he thought Seton Hall was a year away, and I agree with him. But I do say that Gordon Winchester is the glue for this team, and they're going to be hard-pressed to find a guy who plays the defense like that and still gives them some offensive capability.
Thomas Hill got the first. Indiana a winner in Albuquerque earlier. They will take on either UCLA or New Mexico State. And again, we'll take you out to Albuquerque for the final minutes of that ball game as soon as this one is concluded. And we are 46.5 seconds away. Look at Brian Davis. Leahy chases it down, and it'll be Seton Hall ball. Well, in a matchup, Len, between Kentucky and Duke, we've got the number 1 and 2 seeds here. How do you see it?
I think Kentucky's going to be hard-pressed to match up 5 against 5. They're going to have to try some things that allow them to exploit their ball handling and quickness and their three-point ability.
Seton Hall has called timeout. 30 seconds from the Spectrum in Philadelphia. Our MVPs for Chevrolet. Gordon Winchester, a career-high 20 points, 10 of 12 from the field, 8 rebounds. And Antonio Lang for Duke with 16 points. That's a career high for him. He had 11 in the first half. And their honor, $1,000 scholarships to the General Scholarship Fund of both schools. And more free throw shooting now for Duke as we wind it down in the final 21 seconds. Eric Meek is getting ready to come in now for Christian Leitner, who leads with 16 points. Marty Clark is also in. Blakeney and Christian Ast as Mike Krzyzewski clears the bench. So it's Blakeney and Ast, Meek. Brian Davis at the line.
You know, we talked about looking ahead to a Duke-Kentucky matchup. I'll tell you, at the end of that game, regardless of the score, there's going to be one tired guy, and that's going to be Jamal Mashburn, because I see Duke having the 5 guys capable of guarding him, and I'm sure that they won't hesitate in rotating guy after guy on him to wear him down.
Gordon Winchester's career at Seton Hall, and it has been a distinguished one, has come to an end. Brian Davis shoots one more. Got it. And the final substitution now. Ron Burt, he's a senior, was a member of the winning intramural team the last 2 years and walked on, and is now getting to play in the NCAA in his senior year. He has played in previous games. Here's Leahy from the corner. And that'll be blue ball.
You know, that should be a reward for the winning intramural team of every college. You know, get the best player to play on the varsity.
I can see coaches all over the country going, ugh, he didn't really mean that.
Hey, it's for the student body.
That's right. Here's Clark. Thank you. Christian Ast gets the final basket of the game. And two good friends meet at center court. Mike Krzyzewski, P.J. Carlesimo, they will be assistants for the United States Olympic team that plays in Barcelona this summer. And Mike Krzyzewski has just won his 30th game in the NCAA tournament. In his 12th year, he is now 30-7. And this Duke team that has been to the Final Four each of the last 4 years, one step closer in its quest to defend successfully its national championship. It'll be Duke and Kentucky here Saturday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. The top 2 seeds advance, and they both do with double-digit victories. Duke now goes to 31-2 for the year, and we go back to New York and Pat O'Brien.
All right, Vern, thank you very much, along with Len Elmore. Thank you. Good job. Duke advances in the tournament. UCLA looks a doubleheader for you tonight. And before we sign off, we'll cut the field down to the Elite 8. Coming up, most of you will see North Carolina take on Ohio State. Some of you will see Georgia Tech against Memphis State. They'll tip that one off at about 8:18 in Kansas City. Then at about 10:30, our doubleheader games will begin with Michigan and Oklahoma State. Some of you will see Texas El Paso play Cincinnati. But next, it's the Tar Heels and the Buckeyes as the road to the Final Four continues right here on CBS.
Later tonight. 4 schools at all can lay claim to having won at least one national championship. They're all gathered here in Lexington. And hi, everybody. Jim Nance along with Billy Packer, your duo here in Lexington. And Billy, what do we expect in the first game, North Carolina, Ohio State?
Jim, something's got to give here tonight. Both of these clubs in the NCAA tournament have held their opponents below 35% shooting. And their 2 stars, Hubert Davis for North Carolina and Jim Jackson for Ohio State, are shooting at 25%. Whatever guy gets off first, that's the team's going to be in control.
Well, the starting lineups, Carolina with 3 sophomores starting, Hubert Davis, the lone senior, and Ohio State has 3 seniors plus junior Jim Jackson. The officials, Don Rutledge from Windermere, Florida, Bobby Deibler, El Paso, Texas, and Scott Thornley, Pocatello, Idaho. Captain Jamal Brown. And regional semifinals through Mississippi Valley State and UConn. For Carolina, a scare against Miami of Ohio, and then they shut down Alabama 29% from the floor to advance here to Lexington.
Good quick leap by Funderburk. Jackson wasn't sure which direction he was going.
Bounced off the foot of Derek Phelps and Ohio State. In the gray uniforms with the gray sneakers. And Mark Baker is their point guard. Jim Jackson handles a lot of the ball handling chores as well. Here's Baker.
And Brian Reese guarding him. It's going to be quite an assignment for Reese.
Chris Gent.
Jackson trying to post Reese up here early in the game.
Funderburk out high. Jamal Brown. He can shoot a three. And a traveling violation against Jim Jackson, who has struggled, as Billy mentioned, in this tournament. 10 out of 39 from the floor in the first 2 games.
And Jim 0 for 9 in his first 9 attempts against Connecticut. Straight man-to-man by both teams, and they really match up well size-wise.
Now the number 4 seed, the Tar Heels with the ball for the first time. Reese gets it in the corner to Phelps. Montross, who has been outstanding, kicks it back out to Phelps.
Brown on Davis, who's a great matchup as well, talking about tough offense and tough defense.
Good lob pass, and Montross gets the game's first points.
Montross has been the difference so far for North Carolina in regard to his offense in the NCAA tournament.
Gent bounces it in to Jackson, and Reese wrapped around the body to commit his first. And here's the pass from Lynch to Montross.
When you have a 6-7 men entering the ball as opposed to a guard, it makes that lob so much more effective. Funderburk has a quickness advantage on Montross, but he can't handle him down in that low post.
Jackson gives it up to Funderburk.
Jim, we've said it time and time again in doing Ohio State games this year. Lawrence Funderburk gets off the floor for a big man as quickly as anybody in the college game. He's probably given up 40 pounds, though, to Montross in the low post.
Oh, stolen away. Jackson was right there.
Smart play by Jackson, too, to see if he was going to be chased down the floor.
Almost another steal as they went to Reese in the lane to tie it at 4.
Reese, an excellent penetrator. And Jim Jackson's going to take a spot down in the low post. Gent going to play on the outside. He can do that.
Baker off the setup to Funderburk. His second dunk already.
Jim, North Carolina, as has always been their custom, loves to force people to drive baseline, but we've seen on 2 occasions today, with great interior passing, no chance for the weak side defender to come.
A driving layup to give Ohio State a 5-point lead.
Derek Phelps right back quickly. And out of bounds, belonging to Ohio State.
That was Gent using a good block out, and here's Phelps, a weary young man.
Montross and Rodel come in for Reese and Salvadori.
Now, what Dean Smith is going to try to do now is to substitute for defense. I'm surprised he's not taking Phelps out there. He wanted.
Look out. Lynch steals it just like he did against Miami. Davis misses the 3. Lynch runs it down. Phelps can cut it to 2.
Look at Davis rebound.
Rodel. Timeout, North Carolina. 47 seconds to go, and the Buckeyes lead it by 3. Notice on the game reset, team fouls.
Well, Jim, every coach in America likes to be in a situation where you play solid defense and don't commit fouls. And here's the time when North Carolina finds themselves behind the 8 ball, because Ohio State does not have to go to the line, so North Carolina's going to have to commit 4 more fouls here, and every time they commit one, the clock is going to run. I'm surprised Dean Smith hasn't put in some substitutes just to commit quick fouls and try to stop the clock immediately.
Chris Gent called the timeout for Ohio State. The Buckeyes are left with 1. They lead it by 3. Ohio State has come back from a 5-point halftime deficit.
Jim, right now, North Carolina has to foul immediately here. Now, they should go after a big steal. Just go after the steal right away. You can't intentionally foul. There was about 2/10 of a second off. There's holding on Rodel. And I am surprised that, that Dean Smith has not put in some guys to make these intentional fouls. You want to go for the steal. Now they've got to commit 3 more before they can force Ohio State to go to the line. You see Sullivan all the way back for defense.
Tough pass.
Going for the steal. He doesn't get it. And there's the foul. That's the second one.
Sullivan tried to jump in there, and
I'll tell you what, if I'm Ohio State, I take one chance to go long here. The screen and go long, and maybe get an easy basket, because North Carolina is playing to steal the inbounds pass.
That's now 5 team fouls against the Tar Heels.
They gotta commit another foul. There's the reach. Well done by Lynch. He did not grab the shirt. He did not pick up the intentional foul.
So it's taken him 7 seconds to commit 3 fouls.
Now this next one puts him on the line. Now you want to be a little bit more aware of who's in the game to see if you can foul the man that you want.
They send Jamal Brown to the line. He's a 74% free throw shooter.
And that may look easy to say, let's get the ball in bounds, but when the other team doesn't have to worry about fouling you, that is a tough assignment, and Ohio State carried it out very well.
Montross back in.
Now, Jim, and if you're North Carolina, you've got to be thinking threes now, so it's Hubert Davis time.
North Carolina had committed 3 fouls in 19 minutes. Now 4 in the last 8 seconds.
And you see who's back in the game, Jamal Brown. So you know who he's totally rested. He's been on that bench for 8 minutes or so, and you know he'll be matched up against Hubert Davis.
1 of 3 senior starters and a captain for the Buckeyes. Oh, they'll have 1 more.
Well, you look down that lineup of starters. All are excellent free throw shooters with the exception of Funderburk, and he's at 64-8. But he probably is not going to touch the ball in the open court.
He gets 1 of 2, not even close on the second one. 4-point lead for Ohio State. Wells drives.
Big rebound.
Chip boxed out Reese, and he'll go to the line.
Well,
Carolina had more rebounders in the area, but when it came Gent's way, he had boxed out his man, Brian Reese.
Jim, again, I'm going to go back to that excellent substituting by Randy Ayers, and not to say that Dean Smith didn't do well with his team, but Ayers really played some calculated gambles by resting Gent, Brown, and Baker, and Funderburk, and now they come back in with fresh legs, and they get to the ball a little quicker.
1-1, he hits the front end.
And you shoot free throws better when you're rested as well. There you see Dudley and Skelton, 2 very key players in this game for Ohio State. A gutsy move by Randy Ayers. Last year, you'd say as a coach, he might have not had a real good game against Louis Carnesecca. Remember when they got knocked out on the press?
In the Sweet 16 game last year.
Right, tonight he has been all over it.
6-point lead, Reese flying. No Carolina rebounder in sight.
And they got a foul again. They can't get to Baker.
We'll be sending you to Georgia Tech and Memphis State when this game ends.
Jim, you talked about the Final Four where North Carolina beat Ohio State. Go back to another Final Four in '46 when these 2 teams met. In the semifinals, North Carolina won that one, and then they lost in the final to a team we'll see coming up next, Oklahoma State.
Easy to think that 3 of the 4 Final Four teams in '46 are right here at this regional.
That's right.
1-1 for Baker, 18 seconds to go.
103.
Got to get it to Rodel, or Rodel had his back turned.
Well, and you can see that Davis is blanketed by Brown. Davis is the man you'd want to get it to. There was still plenty of time for North Carolina. They could have buried a 3 there, down 6. They just needed one more possession.
Jamal Brown, and this will be a 2-shot situation because it's 10 team fouls.
But that's the only strategy that Dean Smith could use. You've got to stop the clock.
North Carolina, number 3, Pat Sullivan, comes to the lineup.
Funderburk and Jackson out there at half court. Two fellas had a sensational game. Jim Jackson with the second half comeback that he always puts on for people. And Funderburk carried him with those dunks all the way through this game.
7-point lead. That'll do it.
Definitely there.
For North Carolina,
Matt Winstrom comes in for Carolina. In for Lynch. 8-point margin is the largest of the game for Ohio State.
Now, they're looking to go long to Davis, and Brown recognizes the eye contact between Renstrom and Davis. He's not going to let him touch it. If not, I don't know about that strategy to get it by with the left hand.
Timeout called by Carolina with 8 seconds to go. Down 6. Randy Ayers trying to make it to the regional final. Buckeye fans everywhere at Rupp Arena.
Take advantage of this timeout to get you up to date on Georgia Tech, Memphis State. John Barry was just hit in the face under the basket, and there you see his mother looking on with some concern. He's had a great game. The score now, Georgia Tech leads by 3, 67-64. Memphis State in the white jerseys. Mike, good game, huh?
And John Barry, 28 points, has had a phenomenal game, Pat, for Georgia Tech. He looked like he was hit big by his own man there, Malcolm Mackey, underneath the basket. And Memphis State had trouble in this game, fell behind 10 points, but they continue to stay in. And Anthony Hardaway, the big player, 19 points for Memphis State. He's the guy to watch down the stretch of this ball game.
We just want to remind everybody that we're going to take you all to the finish of this game, and Digger, it looks like a great finish.
Well, I'll tell you, James Forrest has stepped up the second half. The freshman for Georgia Tech, he's got 12 points, 11 rebounds for the game, and with Barry out, he may even have to step up higher.
3-point game, 4:23 left in the ball game, and of course we'll send you all out there as soon as the game is done in Lexington. There's 8 seconds left there. Ohio State with a 6-point lead. Let's go back to Jim and Billy.
And you remember where Ohio State clinched the Big Ten championship? A place called Minneapolis. Beat Minnesota.
Destroyed Minnesota
right.
last weekend. Gent will inbound.
The object here is just to get the ball in play. Almost running out of bounds play as if it's going to North Carolina's basket, because you're sure to get the ball there. I'm surprised Ohio State may not step a guy off on the end line. They're not set up to do that, but it's a very good way to ensure yourself the opportunity to get the ball back in bounds. A lot of spacing here to make a long pass. Somebody's got to cut back towards Gent. I would say Baker or Jackson cutting off a Funderburk. There goes Baker. Here comes Jackson.
6 seconds to go, and Carolina about to get knocked out by almost an identical score. It could be an identical score to last year's loss to Kansas. Kansas beat them in the semifinals 79-73. That's the score right now for Ohio State.
And of course, remember, on this very court, North Carolina got knocked out by the eventual national champion Michigan
in '89.
That's right, who we will be seeing in a few minutes.
Dean Smith will be now 0-2 at Rupp Arena.
Jackson goes to the line.
Jackson for 2. 4 in the first half, 13 in the second, as you see, 7 rebounds.
There we see Phil Ford, Bill Guthridge, Dean Smith. How about Bill Guthridge over there? He's been on that bench with Dean for a long time.
25 years. The man to the upper left of your screen. Longest term at one school for an assistant in college basketball.
Oh, he should have leaned right into Jet and got the foul.
Ohio State is 1 step from the Final Four. The Buckeyes become the 3rd #1 seed to make it to a regional final, joining Duke in the East, UCLA in the West. And the Buckeyes will play the winner of Michigan and Oklahoma State, 30 minutes away. By the way, Ohio State was 2-0 this year against the Wolverines.
And Jim, remember when we talked to the Wolverines, they said even at that time when Ohio State looked like they couldn't possibly win the Big Ten, both Chris Webber and Jalen Rose said Ohio State is the better team between Indiana and Ohio State. And there we see two fellas that played an excellent game. Montross, our Chevy player of the game for North Carolina, wasn't he, Jim?
He is indeed. Montross, 21 points, 12 rebounds. And Funderburk for Ohio State. The Chevrolet players of the game, $1,000 scholarship to the General Scholarship Fund of each school. As we saw, Hubert Davis, a magnificent senior season. His career at Carolina is over. Ohio State advances. The Jackson 5 is into the regional final. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports. Let's send you back to Pat O'Brien.
All right, Jim, we'll see you a little bit later. And so across North Carolina off your brackets, as we're doing here, how did Dean Smith get in trouble there, Digger?
I thought at the end of the game when they weren't into the bonus as far as the fouls, because they played zone, that forced Ohio State into the positive.
Some big baskets by Jamie Skelton, and Funderburk inside neutralized Montross. Turned out to be very big keys in the game. Ohio State looked very good in the second half.
Georgia Tech, you mentioned, and that's the game we're going to send everybody out to. Georgia Tech and Memphis State. It's a 1-point ball game. John Berry is having a career night. He's been banged up. He's scoring a lot of points. He's doing it all for him out there. And let's get you out to what we think will be an exciting finish. How can we miss with 3:21, a 1-point game? Georgia Tech on top. Here's Dick Stockton and Al McGuire.
3:21 remaining, and Georgia Tech at one point had a 10-point lead in the second half, cut to 1. John Barry got hit in the nose by teammate Malcolm Mackey. Had to come out. They plugged it up with gauze. It is not broken, and now the foul against Nolan. So Georgia Tech has the ball with a 1-point lead. Team fouls. Tech has 6, and Memphis State 5. Barry, the high scorer, with 28 points for Georgia Tech. Having a great game tonight.
Got the ball in the right man's hands here. He'll try to penetrate and dish off if he can.
Malcolm Mackey gets inside, and goaltending will be called against David Vaughn. Let's bring you up to date on the flow of this game, which was all Memphis State in the first half, and then Georgia Tech had the lead at half. They have the possession arrow, 2 timeouts left, and now Memphis State coming back. What's key to them here to regain the lead?
They got to be very patient and see what defense Georgia Tech is in. They're now in the zone again. I would try to pick up the 5th foul on Geiger.
He's playing with 4.
I give the ball to Vaughn underneath. If Hardaway gets him outside, let it fly, Hardaway.
Here's Anthony Hardaway, number 25, who has 19 points. Tries to draw the foul, and the offensive rebound by Vaughn. Loose ball, Tech has it. And Georgia Tech leading by 3. And James Forrest gives them a 5-point lead. Boy, did they get up court in a hurry after getting the ball back.
Boy, that was close to a charge, but Forrest wanted no doubt about it. You're talking about an outstanding freshman. He is outstanding. James Forrest. Surprise of the game is that Georgia Tech has now 29 points on transition. This was a close call here, but he wanted to make sure of it, and that is a freshman, a boy in a man's body.
Forrest and Best. Here's Hardaway going for 3. The rebound is by Tim Duncan, who's just entered the game. Hardaway with a high arcing three.
That's the way he likes to shoot them. Ball comes down wet. He puts it so high.
He's had 5 3-point baskets to bring Memphis State to within 2.
He doesn't tighten up. He doesn't know how to tighten up. He's super cool. He's chill.
Memphis State has only 1 timeout left, and the next foul by Tech will put the Tigers in the 1-and-1. On the shot clock. 1:19 in the game clock.
Smith is playing Barry as tough as he can.
Barry has scored 28 and has hit the deck about 10 times. But Best throws it away. Another turnover.
Travis Best thought Barry was coming out. He changed direction to go back to the weak side of the court. It was just lack of eye communication.
So here comes Memphis State, trailing by 2.
I take an early shot so I get possession twice. See if they take a shot and miss, they'll still get another possession.
Under a minute to play. And 30 seconds on the shot clock. Hardaway missed. Geiger the rebound, and the foul called against Memphis State.
I think it was against Allen.
Foul number 13, Tim Duncan, second personal.
It is the 6th foul, and it'll be against Tim Duncan, the senior. Most of these players are from Memphis, homegrown. So each team with 6 fouls. 1-and-1 the next time, and on the turnover, Forrest walks. So we have seen 2 freshman errors the last 2 times that Georgia Tech has had the ball, and they've turned it over 20 times tonight.
He was hooking back. He started the hook back. He wanted to pass the ball too soon. There he drew. Definitely a walk. 2-point spread now. Anybody's ball game.
David Vaughn is back in the game for Memphis State.
We got a 4-second spread.
Nearly a turnover, but Madlock control. Here's Hardaway going strong to the basket. And he's fouled and will go to the line to shoot 2 and a chance to tie the game. 17 foul against Georgia Tech.
Penny adjusted in air that time. His original shot was going to be blocked, and he adjusted and got it off and got fouled on it.
Duncan is in. Key part of this game occurred in the closing seconds of the first half on a 6-point play, which concluded the half. All the points by John Barry. A 2-shot foul and then a technical on Hardaway. He made the 2 and then hit a jumper at the buzzer. 6 points, broke the tie, and gave Tech a 6-point lead at the half.
The score was tied with 13 seconds left to go for the half.
Hardaway, struggling from the line, is 5 for 9, although he leads his team with 22 points.
Georgia Tech has 2 timeouts left. That's very important to remember. Because if they get trapped, which they will do, they can call timeout.
Hardaway makes 1 out of 2. He couldn't tie. It's a 1-point game. Here's the long pass to Geiger. He's fouled. It worked Georgia Tech's way.
Oh, I would have dribbled that ball back out. That's how much I know about basketball. Here's a touchdown pass by Barry. He sees the man break down, Matt Geiger. Now watch, he backs it up. There's the pass on the money. I would have went against the clock because I think the clock is more your opponent than Memphis State.
Hardaway commits the foul, his 3rd. And maybe Bobby Cremins would have liked him to push it out, but it all worked out for Tech.
A lot of time left, 36 and change.
That was only the 2nd field goal for Matt Geiger tonight, but a timely one it is. And now we'll try to give Tech a 4-point lead.
This is a big one because this means 2 possessions Memphis State needs if he makes it. Big. Now they'll settle back into his zone, probably call a timeout and set up their defenses.
Georgia Tech will have 1 timeout left, as will Memphis State when we return with 36+ remaining.
Each team has 1 timeout remaining.
Both in the bonus, and the arrow favors Georgia Tech, Al.
Georgia Tech will give a new defensive fake. They got 1 timeout left, and if Memphis State scores, they'll call it. What Memphis State has to do is not look for the 3-point. Go in for the 2. Kick it down low to Vaughn or to Hardaway.
Hardaway has it. He's gone for 3. And the rebound is by Anthony Douglas. And Douglas cuts the lead in half to 74-72. And a timeout called by Memphis State, and they've used their last timeout.
And they committed a mortal sin, Georgia Tech, that time by not boxing out. It's not the shot that kills you, it's the rebound shot that kills you in that situation. Anybody's ball game, because if Georgia Tech has an Achilles heel, has a albatross around their neck, is they don't have enough guards that can handle the ball. Here's the shot from the corner. Now Douglas gets inside position. I watch him just turn around and play it up there, dances around. Douglas has had an outstanding offensive game for him.
Douglas has 14 points and shooting tonight. Hit his first 6 shots and is 7 for 11, but he got the big basket there.
Coach Crimmins now is telling his ball players, Larry here is first saying to the Tigers, says, hey, we got to trap and we got to trap and go to town. Don't let too many seconds go off the clock. If they break our trap, foul them. Now, on the other end, Bobby Crimmins is saying to the guys, hey, if we have a trouble and we're trapped, call timeout. We got 1 timeout remaining. Let's try to get the ball into Travis Best's hands. Let's have Barry take the ball out of bounds.
Barry is the high scorer with 28 points for Georgia Tech. Hardaway has 23 for Memphis State, 17 of them here in the second half. So Memphis State has no more timeouts.
Georgia Tech has 1 timeout remaining. The one thing that Georgia Tech has to do, gang, out there, they must flash a big man into the middle as a safety valve against this pressure. That's going to be pressure at a maximum with 20.8 left on the clock.
Geiger, the big man, will inbound. Remember, he's playing with 4 personal fouls. 20.8 seconds.
I'd move a little bit further to the left, away from the backboard, so you can use the whole court throwing the ball in, Matt. No one's guarding them. They're doing this in reverse. What's going to happen? You see Penny here. Here comes Penny Hardaway out a little bit. He's going to double team anyone that enters that area.
And Hardaway is the man standing in the paint.
You can go for a touchdown pass here if you bring your man in and then go long. It'd be dangerous. It's a long pass.
I think Memphis State is watching John Barry for that very thing to the left of your picture.
Well, they got Smith on him. Smith's their best defensive ball player.
They get it inbounds to Barry. 2-point lead, and they foul Geiger. So Matt Geiger, who's a 71% free throw shooter and 1 for 1 tonight, will go to the line. And if he makes 2, keep in mind that Memphis State still has a chance for 3.
Don't even talk about 2 because he's shooting a 1-and-1. You know, he has to make that first one. He doesn't get that second shot.
If.
For the one of a nail. Something about a horse and we lost the war or the battle.
What war was that? Anyway, David Vaughn has come in for Memphis State. Georgia Tech tonight, 15 of 17 from the free throw line, so they have been excellent.
Can't ice them. They got no timeouts left.
He missed the front end, and it's in the hands of Hardaway. The lead is 2. Billy Smith ties the game. 10 seconds to go.
And we have set the stage for a holy mackerel again.
You know, you gave 4 holy mackerels when Forrest hit the shot to beat Southern Cal. This may be a 5. Who knows? Timeout. Game at 74. Mackey has it. Clock running down. Georgia Tech can't do anything with it.
Don't make any difference. There's no T. It's overtime. Excellent, excellent defense by Larry Fitch that time. He kept the pressure up court, which was dangerous because if he fouled, there would have been a 1-on-1 down this end with no timeout left.
Al, the way this game was going down the stretch, I'd have to say that Memphis State has to take a deep breath and be very pleased they're going in overtime because they were headed for the L.
Yeah, they pretty much were going to their golf clubs and going for the Miami and Easter vacation. But the last 9 seconds, they kept tremendous pressure up court, which was dangerous. They wanted to get the ball either the Best or the Barry, but they kept the ball in the big man's hands. I thought McKay made a good move here by not trying to gamble a miracle pass. Now here's Travis Best just throwing the ball. I let Barry do it, but Smith is playing him real tight without the ball. He comes around the horn.
Ernest Smith stays with Barry, blankets him.
Plenty of time left.
Barry has to give it up, and he goes low to Malcolm Mackey. Mackey.
Goaltending,
no
call.
Hardaway blocks it. The rebound, Mackey misses. No goaltending call, and Memphis State has the ball. Under a minute to play and a 1-point lead.
I go man-to-man now. Good call. Georgia Tech went man-to-man.
About a 13-second differential between the shot clock and the game clock, which you see.
I would now settle back to his zone. I'd call him back into his zone.
And Barry comes in and fouls Madlock. I don't think that's what Bobby Cremins was looking for, but Barry tried to gamble for the loose ball.
Both teams still got one timeout left. You pick up an extra timeout during the an overtime, an OT.
So Tony Madlock, who hit critical free throws moments ago, has a chance to give Memphis State a 3-point lead, but he's got to make the shots.
We're in reverse now. Okay, if he makes this next one, Georgia Tech needs 2 possessions, which is difficult. The trick is to come down the first time and look for the 2-point basket, not for the 3-pointer. Then call your timeout that's remaining and put pressure up court.
Big. 80-77, Memphis State. They've scored all 6 of its points in overtime at the free throw line, but the pressure on Georgia Tech now.
Gotta go all the way.
Travis Best to Barry. Barry tries a 3. Douglas the big rebound for Memphis State. And a foul called against Barry. And there is the Reverend David Vaughn, who got a chance to come to see his son play here. Actually, his grandson. He's 66. He looks young enough to be his father.
He has 34 grandchildren. He was sent here from a personal check from the governor of Tennessee.
Tony Madlock. He has hit 5 big free throws here in overtime. And Memphis State nearly 17 seconds away from moving into the regional finals. And the lead is 5. That's 2 possessions that Georgia Tech needs to make good on. Clock shot is off. Best gets 2 of them back, and Georgia Tech will use its 1 timeout right here in overtime with 8.3 seconds remaining.
Don't leave us. They got a tough break going into halftime when the score was tied with 13 seconds left and ended up going in 6 down because of a technical foul.
Anthony Douglas will inbound for Memphis State. Ernest Smith, who's been terrific defensively, with Hardaway, Madlock.
I'd foul Hardaway if I could right now. But you can't make a decision.
Hardaway would be the man at 66%, Al.
I let him have the ball first, then foul him, Hill. Let him have the ball, Hill.
And they're going to call the foul against Georgia Tech away from the ball. Hardaway was fouled by Travis Best.
Best thing that could happen to him because nothing came off the clock. The clock still reads 8 and change. Now Hardaway, I forget what that chart said, but I think he shoots in the low 60s. Here's on the top of the seat. There's a switch right there. And there's the foul that he called on Travis Best.
Tim Duncan comes in for Memphis State. Hardaway is 6 for 10 from the free throw line tonight. Larry Finch talking with Stan Reynolds, one of the officials. Wonder what he's asking over there.
Well, they just want to make sure everything's straight here. They made a substitution, and I don't know if the substitution. Oh, I know what they
can't come in.
Duncan can't come in at that particular time. No time went off the clock at all.
Georgia Tech does not have a timeout remaining.
Memphis State's taking all their ball plays and put them back down court. I don't like that. I would rather put a picket fence so you're used to shooting in to the picket fence. Ooh, I'm right. Bring him back in, Larry. Make a picket fence there. The kid's been shooting for his 18, 19 years of age. Have him shoot into the picket fence.
Remember the Syracuse-Indiana championship in New Orleans.
Right. Oh,
1 out of 2. But he made a big one because it's still 2 possessions for Georgia Tech, and they don't have any timeouts left.
The only thing, if you foul them from three-point land, touchdown land, which you shouldn't do.
Travis Best pulls up for the 3 and misses.
Congratulations to the Memphis Tigers. They're in the Elite Eight.
Memphis State 83, Georgia Tech 79. The Tigers against the Sunday regional final against the Georgia Tech
They are an excited bunch of Tigers. After beating Arkansas, Georgia Tech is disposed of by Memphis State, and they will move on to the Midwest Regional Finals. Larry Finch trying to get to the Final Four. He did as a player, and he's 1 step away. Hardaway with 24 led Memphis State, and John Barry at 29. Final score, Memphis State 83, Georgia Tech 79. So Memphis State will play the winner of the game upcoming between UTEP and 4th-seeded Cincinnati for the right to play Sunday to move on to the Final Four. And our Chevrolet players of the game, John Barry for Georgia Tech and Anthony Hardaway for Memphis State. For Al McGuire, Dick Stockton saying so long from Kemper Arena in Kansas City, Missouri. Memphis State moves on 83-79. And right now, let's send you back to our New York studios and Pat O'Brien. Patrick?
All right, Dick, thank you very much. Let's get you up to date on the other game going on right now. Michigan and Oklahoma State. The Fab Five have a 6-point lead now, just underway, 15:47 left in the half. And we'll bring you to that game after a word from your local station. Hope you're having a good night.
We'd like to welcome everybody to Game 2 at the Southeast Regional. The winner of Michigan-Oklahoma State will face Ohio State for the right to go to the Final Four. Jim Nance and Billy Packer, 12-8 Michigan. Sean Sutton of the Oklahoma State Cowboys on the line for one more. 13:56 to go in the first half.
You know, Jim, I really thought if there'd be pressure on anybody, it would not be Eddie Sutton, but it would be Sean, who has to have some very tough memories from his stay at Kentucky. Particularly that last year when not only his father, but what he thought maybe was his entire basketball career having no chance to ever be rekindled.
Sean Sutton called that whole situation at Kentucky, said it was a nightmare from hell. But they've returned now to Lexington. Eddie Sutton sitting on the same bench where he used to coach the Wildcats. Jalen Rose for the Wolverines.
There's Rose getting inside the three-point line. That's where he's going to have to operate against Williams.
14-10 Michigan. Byron Houston a 3. Houston is 1 for 3 at the start of this game, and a foul called against Oklahoma State, and Corey Williams, his first team foul number 4. They have 2, by the way, on their starting center, Brian Reeves.
And Jim, Byron Houston, who in the NIT preseason was burying those three-point shots, made 5 against Georgia Tech, but has not been shooting it well of late. For the year, he's only 22 of 76, down around 28%. So if possible, I'm sure Eddie Sutton liked him to get him to shift down, either drive low or get down low, post up on Howard.
Trying to dump it into Eric Riley, out of bounds, belonging to Oklahoma State.
Davis got by with a foul on that one.
So far in this game, Juwan Howard with 6 for the Wolverines, who lead it 14-10. On the court for Oklahoma State, Sean Sutton with the basketball, along with Cornell Hatcher, Byron Houston, Randy Davis, and Derwin Alexander.
There was the push-off with the left hand by Houston. Well called.
Game summary, Billy Packer.
Well, I thought, Jim, when this game started, it was very obvious early on that Michigan had the superiority in terms of the athleticism on the floor. Then Eddie Sutton made some major adjustments, took Reeves out. It might have been a little bit nervous playing here in this ball game, let's be honest. He talked to Eddie Sutton about the nervousness in his first game. Said, well, I'm not nervous about the game. I'm nervous about thinking about that airplane ride to New York. So imagine what he's thinking about today.
Riley gets it back out to King. He's already hit 1-3. Make it 2. Now, for those of you who will be getting UTEP in Cincinnati, we'll be switching you later to that game. 11:07 is the tip time, Eastern time, for that one. We'll get you on time for the start of that game. Now, Michigan, we set the Oklahoma State lineup a moment ago. Michigan started with the Fab Five, and now they have Riley, a 7-footer in there now, so 4 starters in Riley. Ryan Reeves was fouled on the back by Ray Jackson.
So one big turnover.
Tipped in by Riley. The nation may know them as the Fab Five, but tonight has been the life of Riley.
I guarantee you. He has saved them with Weber on the bench and only 4 points, fouled out by 30 minutes.
Williams, this is the 3. Reeves. Hold on, is it against Reeves or Jackson?
No, it's going to be against Jackson coming over Reeves back. That's 5 on Jackson. He's out of there.
Number 5, so Weber and Jackson both have fouled out.
Well, another bloody nose. I'll tell you what, Reeves a little groggy right now. Now,
.147 remaining in this game. 65-59 Michigan.
Jim, this may be a little bit of a break because Reeves will not have to shoot the fouls. He's going to sit on the bench and be attended to. That brings Alexander, who, as I said earlier, was the 3rd leading free throw shooter in the nation a year ago, and he shoots 76% now.
Ray Jackson is fouled out with 3 points, joining Chris Weber right alongside of him, who was also fouled out. Rob Pelinka comes in.
See, Eddie Sutton has the right to put anybody from that bench on out there to shoot the free throws.
Again, the winner of this game will play Ohio State Sunday in the Southeast Final. And Billy, you said it a moment ago, Alexander, one of the best last year in the nation at the line, and then had that troubling situation at Iowa State in the late going where he missed 2 free throws. 2 big ones here.
76, it's not like he became a bad free throw shooter, but when you go from roughly 90% down to 76, that's quite a fall off. Reeves is now back. He is very groggy on the bench.
4-point game. 1:47 on the game clock.
I'd say Michigan better get the ball in Rose's hands the rest of the way.
Look out.
Oh, Riley, what a play!
No, they call a foul at midcourt.
Oh, but how about the play, Jim? He realized he was being double teamed on the catch and just batted the ball forward. And look at how happy Steve Fisher is for that young man. That was a sensational play. Smart thinking.
4th against Alexander, and Riley has had his problems tonight from the line.
Now we'll see what happened. Howard doesn't get the ball back to Rose. Now Riley sees what's coming and just taps the ball forward to what would have been a layup for Jimmy King.
Hatcher out, Reeves back in. A smart play by Riley, but an inadvertent smart play by Oklahoma State. 1 of 6 from the line.
Well, how about that foul? When it's going right for you, Jim, everything falls.
Missed his first 5, now he's made 2 straight. Season high in both points and rebounds. 15 and 10 for Riley.
And that's amazing, 10 rebounds being his season high last year, the #2 rebounder in the Big Ten. So it's not like he wasn't capable.
Yeah, he had a 9-block game last year, too. Sutton lays it in, and a timeout called by the Cowboys. 15 for Sutton. 1:27 to go. Cowboys will talk. Oklahoma State has 1 timeout remaining, trailing 67-63 with 1:27 to go. Jim Nance, Billy Packer, Curry Kirkpatrick. We heard Brian Reeves had to go out, had a tooth knocked loose, but he's
been back in, although he's not in the lineup at this moment.
You notice how Rose stayed away from the ball to conserve his strength for a while. Now he's coming back to accept it. That really helps Michigan.
Sutton bumped into King. His third. UTEP within 8 now of the Bearcats.
Interesting, Sean Sutton there with the foul. I saw a little clip about him. Of course, he still has a lot of friends back in Kentucky. One of his closest, John Pelfrey, and when they talked recently, Pelfrey said, "You're lucky you're still not at Kentucky. You don't shoot enough to play at Kentucky." And he said, "Yeah, well, you're lucky you're not at Oklahoma A&M because you don't play Oklahoma State. You don't play enough defense to play out here." So, nice little slap back and forth between two good friends.
There's Reeves in for Hatcher. Sutton trying to avoid seeing his college career end the same place it started.
Well,
actually, Billy thought about going to Michigan once it was determined he would no longer stay at Kentucky. Fisher and Frieder both came down trying to recruit him to go play for the Wolverines.
This one.
Oh, that should have been.
That was off Reeves' hand, and I think Riley had him hooked. Riley's laughing because he knows that he really committed the foul and got away with it.
Hatcher comes back in for defensive reasons. 1:06 remaining.
But as we said before, not much going wrong for Riley tonight. There's Rose again, coming back to get the ball.
King runs it down for the save. Under a minute to go.
Now, you know what Rose did there, Jim? He saw that Riley was wide open, but he knew that Oklahoma State was going to foul the first man they could, so he, instead of passing to the open man, saying, "Hey, I'd rather be on the line than put Riley on the line," he retained possession. The kid is always thinking. And the normal tendency there would be to throw to the first open man, and he knew what would happen. They'd go right out and foul Riley.
56 seconds from a third game of the year, a rematch with Ohio State. Ohio State beat the Wolverines 68-58 at Michigan, holding the Wolverines to only 13 points in the first half, and then 77-66 Buckeyes at home. So they beat them 2 for 2.
Well, Jim, you know what Jalen Rose told us.
Yeah, that was no idea they would ever meet again.
A month ago.
That was before the Indiana game. Would you rather face Indiana or Ohio State? They said, we think Ohio State's the toughest. They could end up beating them both again.
They might, and of course, if they were to go all the way and meet Indiana, that'd be a rematch of the '76 NCAA championship in Philadelphia.
Ricky Green led Michigan to the finals. Indiana won it.
Let's go.
That's a
great
three.
shot. That was an NBA three.
That cuts it to 4, and that was Oklahoma State's last timeout. Michigan and Oklahoma State. Byron Houston's line. His season low, 7 points. He averages 21. And in danger of setting a new low tonight.
Jim, nobody guarding a man out of bounds. Palinka put in the game for his free throw shooting. So right now, the only weak free throw shooter in the game for Michigan is Riley. Because you've got Palinka at 87%. You've got Rose at 75. You've got Howard at 67. And King at 72. So it's going to be very difficult for Oklahoma State to foul a poor free throw shooter here.
2 for Rose. Hey, did you know Oklahoma State and Michigan are going to meet again on September the 19th? At Michigan Stadium. College football. Maybe Corey Williams will be facing the Wolverines, this time in pads. One more for Rose. 37 seconds remaining. Remember, the Cowboys don't have any timeouts.
They're on that odd number now. They need a 3 and a 2. Down 5.
Williams hit one a moment ago. And one more. That's down to 2.
Plenty of time here. And Howard gets fouled. And you know, you can see that Jalen Rose is talking to Riley saying, the ball is to come to me. Rose wanted to be on that foul line again.
How about Corey Williams with back-to-back threes from way out there with players in his face?
Jim, we almost like burying Oklahoma State here, and I think a lot of the fans have, you know, thinking that Michigan already has this one won, but not the case.
Howard will shoot 2. 68% on the season.
Big free throw there. And he can really seal this up now if he can make this one, because Oklahoma State will need the 2 possessions, and they don't have a timeout to stop the clock on the end line.
Steve Fisher says his free throw shooter is our fiercest competitor.
And he hits him right, Barry, 2 big ones. That goes.
That's a throw. Down to 1.
They do not.
No timeouts. Brown almost steals it.
8.7 seconds. No timeouts for Michigan. Michigan wants, no timeouts for Oklahoma State. Michigan took 1.
Unbelievable off-balance 3. 3 of them in the last minute, and it's down to 1. Sean Sutton's 3 a moment ago may have actually been a 2. It's hard to tell, Billy, but it looks like the toe's on the line to me.
That was a good call by you, Jim, and you brought it up during that timeout. We didn't have the angle on it, but the official that called it was the back official. Goes to Rose. He's going to be on that line to win this thing.
Even if he makes them both, Oklahoma State should have a chance for a tie.
They can tie it, and the way they've been putting them up between Sutton and Williams, Williams can get up that court so quickly.
Billy, with 56 seconds to go in this game, it was Michigan 70 and Oklahoma State 63. A 7-point lead with 56 seconds to go. Cowboys have gotten 2 threes by Corey Williams, 1 by Sutton, and they're within 1. Rose will shoot 2.
Now they can win the game, Jim, with a 3. Do you have the guts, if he makes this, to foul them to make sure you can't lose this game with a 3?
Wouldn't it be something for Sutton to come back here and pull out a game at the end? Sean Sutton. Timeout, Michigan. Cowboys will have a chance to set up with 7 seconds remaining. No timeouts remaining, Billy. Michigan leads by 2. Oklahoma State has the ball.
Jim, we saw Georgia Tech have a chance to solve away a game earlier tonight. They did not put the ball in the hands of their primary dribbler, who would have been Travis Best. In this particular case, neither team has a timeout left, so this is really going to be the last play of the game.
Sean Sutton
gets it up, looking for Williams.
He's driving on Rose, spinning over, tries to force it inside. Stolen away by Howard, and a foul with 1 second left. That was a tough pass.
Yeah, it was a tough pass. He was looking for a backdoor cut on a reverse dribble, thinking at Williams. Boy, what thoughts are going through that young man's mind now? See, he was trying for the reverse dribble, figuring that they would overplay Williams and Williams would get the backdoor cut. But excellent defense that time by King, who didn't fall for it.
Just remember one thing, if Howard hits only 1 of 2, it was on this night, on the Friday night of the Sweet 16 2 years ago, when with 1.0 seconds on the clock at the Meadowlands, Tate George hit a game winner, and they had to go the length of the court with that one. Howard will shoot 2. Still have a chance.
Yep.
Actually, if he makes, it'll give Oklahoma State maybe a better chance to inbound.
Yeah, he'd be better off if he could put it right off the rim to put it off the rim.
Yep.
But then you take the chance of missing the basket altogether. But he'd be smart to miss this shot. Off the rim.
Made it. Now Oklahoma State can set up for 1.
And look at who's back here. Byron Houston not even under the basket.
Milton Brown. No way.
Michigan is headed to the regional final.
Country. It's the Southeast Regional, but it's a Big Ten final. Ohio State and Michigan will duel for the third time this season on Sunday. The Chevrolet players of the game, Eric Riley of Michigan had a season high in both points and rebounds, and Corey Williams of Oklahoma State. Ohio State and Michigan, no strangers. They will meet Sunday for the right to go to the Final Four. Let's send you back to Pat O'Brien.
All right, James, thank you. Can't complain about those games from the Southeast, huh, fellas? Let's get everybody up to date on what's going to happen tomorrow here on CBS at 4 o'clock. The road to the Final Four. Dale Brown will be in, and Bill Walton, Digger Phelps will be discussing... well, I don't know what we'll be discussing, but it'll be lively. I'll guarantee you that. Mike Francesa and I'll be along with a little round table, get you up to date on everything that's going on in college sports. And some big programs tomorrow on CBS. Indiana, UCLA, our first game. Tip at 4:42 Eastern Time. And then Kentucky and Duke at 7 o'clock tomorrow. A big day. Cancel all your plans and plan to spend the day with us here.
Coming up next on CBS Sports, the NCAA Basketball Championship.
So bye-bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were bothering me, waiting for the Chevy MVP. Hi, I'm Don McLean. You see, in L.A. and elsewhere, I am known for having scored with a lot of big records.
No, I'm the real McLean. You're looking at the answer to a trivia question someday. Who had more points as a Bruin than Lou Alcindor? But I tell you what, I'll give it up for just one shot at the national championship. It's March Madness on CBS.
So come on, Jack, be nimble, Jack, be quick. Jack Flash sat on a candlestick, 'cause fire is the devil's only friend. Oh, and as I watched him on the stage, my hands were clenched in fists of rage. No angel born in hell could break that Satan's spell. Bye-bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing, this will be the day that I die. This will be the day that I die.
And Don McLean, the one with the guitar, has a new album out. It's called Headroom. What is this, Entertainment Tonight?
That's it.
Indiana can't afford to give the other Don McLean any headroom. And hi again, everybody. I'm Pat O'Brien. He's Mike Francesa, my new standard safety feature along the road to the Final Four. And Mike, today, it's the Elite Eight as we begin the regional final.
Not only the Elite Eight today, the elite of the elite. Duke, Kentucky, UCLA, Indiana, 21 national titles. These are the 4 storied programs in all of college basketball.
100 tournament appearances between the 4 of them. The first 2 teams will be ticketed for the Final Four today. We'll start out west. Tip time in Albuquerque, slated at 4:42 Eastern Time. Number 2 Indiana meets number 1 UCLA. Greg Gumbel will call the play-by-play, and he's at the pit with a preview.
Well, as we await today's West Regional Championship game between UCLA and Indiana here in Albuquerque, a bit of controversy has arisen, and it involves Indiana head coach Bob Knight. It all began at Knight's first press conference on Wednesday.
Right here is the key to success in coaching. Probably no motivational device I've ever come across is as good as this. I could have some water. You can't let it get too wet. Gets too wet. Boy, this is really good. See the See the blood drip out of it? You watch that. See that?
At practice that same day, Knight brandished the same whip which was given to him by his players. This photo appeared in a local newspaper which has drawn the ire of one of the two local NAACP factions. Andrea Joyce picks up the story today. Andrea?
Well, Greg, that group is asking for an apology from Coach Knight. Joke or no joke, they say this is an issue of sensitivity, and when a picture like that is published, they feel it sends out a negative message, one that evokes memories and images of slavery. Now, I did attend a press conference this morning held by those individuals from that group from the NAACP. They held it at a Baptist church, and they said they've received complaints from all across the country. They have asked the national office to conduct an investigation. They expect that to be started next week. Meantime, Indiana officials say Coach Knight has no plans right now to issue any kind of formal apology. That's the story from here in Albuquerque as we get ready for the West Region Finals. It is Indiana and UCLA.
All right, Andrea, apology necessary?
I think he's probably taken a whip as far as he possibly can, Pat, but it's not an issue of race. It could have been any player. I don't see it as a racial issue in any way.
Yeah, I don't think it's a race. I think it's a whip issue.
Yeah, I think it is. He's taken that pretty far.
Issue. There's always something, isn't there?
Yeah, it is.
Tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern, Duke will try to make it 5 straight Final Four appearances. Kentucky stands in its way, and another battle of the 2 top seeds. And our Leslie Visser has the Philadelphia story.
They are 2 of the most storied programs in basketball history. Kentucky with a record 34 appearances in the NCAA tournament, and Duke looking for its 5th straight trip to the Final Four. And the coaches are equally renowned. One is the King of Kentucky, the other simply known as K.
Growing up, when you thought of basketball, you thought of Kentucky and Duke and Indiana, UCLA, and to have all of them playing on the same day, you know, for such high stakes, is the best.
Duke, Kentucky are 2 magical names. They played each other in '78. Kentucky was fortunate enough to go on and win the national championship, and hopefully it can happen again.
The philosophy at Duke is never the pursuit of the Final Four, but rather thinking of the season as a series of mini-tournaments and never looking too far ahead.
We've always broken it down where we need to win 2 games here in Greensboro and 2 games in Philadelphia. And that's been our goal. We've had short-term goals in this NCAA.
I believe because we haven't talked about it, our team isn't consumed by it. If we can beat Kentucky, then I want them to be consumed with it.
3 years ago, Kentucky could scarcely have imagined being 1 game away from the Final Four. The fabled program was in ashes, on probation, and quite a long way from playing in a regional final.
I think we all understand this is what it's all about, is to have the chance just to play to go to the Final Four. And a lot of guys work their whole careers, don't get in this situation. And for us, we're getting one brief moment in time to make all the hard work pay off. And hopefully we can do that.
One of the things I've learned from Mike Krzyzewski just watching him is his preparation for tournaments like this.
In this tournament, he said, take it in 2-game segments. 2 games, they put away. This is the second of the second 2 games. They win those if they can win tonight, and then they focus on 2 games to win it all. He broke it up into 3 distinct parts.
Looks like Patino's losing a little sleep there. Last night, the action actually went into this morning. It was past 1 a.m. Eastern time when we paired the field to its Elite 8.
He has it rejected by David Vaughn, and here's a 2-on-1 break. Billy Smith.
Billy Smith with a jam, Georgia Tech and Memphis State. Right before the halftime, Mike Francesa, John Barry hits a Rick Barry type shot.
Just like Daddy used to make for 2 of his 19 first-half points. Patty carried them early.
Close second half as Memphis State Anthony Hardaway gets hot.
He had all the big baskets really in the second half for Memphis State to keep him in the game.
The lead is 2. Billy Smith ties the game. 10 seconds to go.
Now in the overtime, Memphis State wins the game with 9 points from the free throw line and tough defense. Malcolm Mackey inside, rejected by Hardaway. And after the game, Larry Finch had this to say.
We hadn't played a great game in this tournament yet. We win it ugly, but that's the key to win. It doesn't matter how pretty it is, whatever, just keep advancing. We got one more big one before we're at the big dance.
This, folks, is the Memphis State Student Lounge, and the lounge act of the night was their basketball team as they're celebrating there. They will now play Cincinnati That game last night, kind of a strange game, Mike.
Cincinnati got out to a 10-zip start, Pat. UTEP crept back in. Cincinnati came back, opened up a 14-point lead. That slam there cut it to 4, but in the final seconds, UTEP down 2. Couldn't foul the Bearcats. They just couldn't get them, and UTEP couldn't get a foul there, and Cincinnati advances to play Memphis State for the 4th time.
In the Southeast region, North Carolina and Ohio State, and what can you say about Lawrence Funderburk?
It was all Funderburk time after time, neutralizing Montrose there on a slam, Pat. His biggest game of his career at Ohio State.
First half, Eric Montrose responds on the other side with a slam inside the Tar Heels with a 7-point lead. Jimmy Jackson came in here a little bit on a slump, but that's a good way to get back into the game.
He ignited him to start the second half with 7 big points. Carolina stayed in the game here, as you see Hubert Davis with a huge 3.
Huge 3, but in the end, the Buckeyes pull away as Jimmy Jackson slices through the Carolina defense for spinning layup.
Always the answer man for Ohio State.
So the Buckeyes advance, and it will be a Big Ten regional final as they play Michigan that beat up on Oklahoma State last night. Early on, the freshmen were celebrating, laughing, jamming, slamming, doing it all, and then they got into some foul trouble.
That was one of the high points for Chris Webber, who was in foul trouble all night, only played 18 minutes. But for Byron Houston right there, you saw him on the 3, a nightmare. 2 for 14, 8 turnovers.
And with some of their stars on the bench, some of the other players had to step up.
Jalen Rose had a tremendous game. He wouldn't let the Wolverines lose, and again, that was the key.
State with a chance to tie or win. Sean Sutton's pass intercepted by Michigan, and Michigan, with some of their stars on the bench, advance in this tournament. A dejected Sean Sutton, and that carried on right through the news conference later.
For a chance to get to the Final Four, and right now, all I can see and hear is, my basketball career is over, and unfortunately, making the Final Four is never going to happen.
Tough moment for him.
As he goes on and he thinks more about that game, the tough part's not going to be losing. It's that he didn't put a shot up. If you had put this shot up and it didn't go in, at least you could live with that.
So the game is not basketball, it's life, and I think he's smart enough to know that. Tomorrow, 1 o'clock, the road to the Final Four, by the way, here on CBS. And then those 2 games, kind of a conference Sunday here. The Great Midwest with 2 teams, Memphis State and Cincinnati. That's at 1:42. And then the Big Ten matchup between Michigan and Ohio State. That's tomorrow, Conference Sunday, here on CBS. Coming up next here, we'll convene our round ball roundtable. Bill Walton and Digger Phelps, there they are. They'll stir it up with Mikey and me when the road to the Final Four rolls on for New York, New Mexico, and the rest of the New World here on CBS.
The road to the Final Four is sponsored by Reebok, who asks, who is the world's greatest athlete, Dan or Dave? Hertz, we never forget who made us #1. We're Hertz, we're America's wheels. And by Pringles, so fresh, once you pop, you can't stop.
You're looking at a live picture now in Albuquerque out in the west. The pit, teams warming up for our first game on this Saturday in the tournament, and we've had some great ones, folks, and why shouldn't this one be any different? As our first game begins shortly here on CBS, and time now to tip off our tournament talk fest. In one corner, Richard Frederick Digger Phelps, who led Notre Dame to the 1978 Final Four. Digger, welcome once again.
Thanks,
also joining us, a man who played against Phelps is Fighting Irish, Bill Walton. Perhaps, maybe, probably is the all-time greatest college player ever. And Bill, nice to see you again. Welcome, Mike Francesa. You ever think you'd see these 2 guys sitting next to each other after the
Well, honestly,
I
always thought, Pat, watching Digger with those suits and a carnation, that he'd wind up doing TV someday.
He tried to roll a carnation in here last
Well, he only coached 1 day in his life, and that was January 19th, 74.
And thanks to you, we won. Let's talk a little basketball, and let me take you all back to November 15th of this last year in '91 in the Tip-Off Classic, UCLA and Indiana. UCLA wins the game 87-72. What does this do to the Bruins or to Indiana today in this game?
basically, I think it's a different team for Indiana. When you take a look at Chris Reynolds, he didn't play in that game because he's being redshirted. The next day, Knight gets him out of retirement, beat a quarterback. He's led that team to the Big Ten championship, and plus Henderson's played 30 games, different player.
Bill, Bob Knight used that game, Pat, to discipline Calvert Chaney a little bit, send a little message to him. I think that game means less than nothing.
Yeah, Bill, if you're the Bruins, and you used to be, are you mentally saying, well, we beat these guys up one time, and, you know, how do they deal with that?
Not at all. This Indiana team is totally different. The Bruins have to put that game out of their mind. They must realize that this has to be the best game that this Bruin team has ever played. It's going to be very difficult. They're going to have to stop Indiana's very hot outside shooting. They're going to have to keep them in front, not allow penetration, and they're going to have to get big games out of somebody besides Murray and McLean.
Digger, what about the coaching matchup here?
Well, I look at Knight just setting this whole scene. He's got him in the desert. He wants him away from all his action. He's just distracted everybody from, you never hear him talking about the players. Watch Damon Bailey today have a big game. He'll play against the Bruins.
Yeah, you've got a theory about Bobby.
Well, I thought that what he did with this team is he judged it down the stretch of the season and thought, I have to take the pressure off him. Now, whether he's gone too far with the whip or not, he has taken the focus completely off this team, the pressure off him, and right centered on him, and that's where he wants it.
Yeah, but there are different ways to take the pressure off, and not talking about chaining up players and whipping them. There are much nicer ways, and I think that sends an incorrect message.
Yeah, what's he up to, Digger, and what's going on with Bob Knight? I think he's gone a little too far here. Now he's in trouble over it.
Well, I don't think he's worried about that right now. I think he wants to get into UCLA's head, and he's done it. And I think this game today, Indiana wins.
Yeah. But do you think he's correctly taken the focus off his team now, and we're all talking about him and not his team?
That's what he wanted.
Exactly what he wants.
And, Pat, when he gets this deep into the tournament, they usually perform very, very well. History shows that.
Speaking of performances, Rick Pitino says he's got 3 presses he's going to run against Duke today. What about that game?
I look at Kentucky today making a big mistake to press the whole game. What this does, Kentucky's not a great offensive rebounding team, which means defensive rebounds go to Duke. They run the transition. Hurley gets assists. Now, if you press Hurley, he gets more assists. Look for Hurley today to have double figures in assists.
Yeah.
Mashburn has to have a huge game inside to draw the Duke defense down and tight. Plus, I think that Kentucky has to get physical on the perimeter, particularly with Hurley.
What about these big game guys? Because we had one yesterday who didn't come through, as we look at Jamal Mashburn.
Well, Mashburn had a great,
horrible.
Mashburn had a great game. Houston had a nightmare you're alluding to the other night, Pat. He's the guy inside who can do it because he gets man-to-man inside so much because they're worried about defending Kentucky out on the perimeter. I think Duke is a great matchup from the Duke standpoint against Kentucky because they can guard on the perimeter, and Hurley's tireless. You cannot tire Bobby Hurley out. You can press him all night. You will not tire him out.
He loves the press. Digger, what about the court?
The court's different, and the NBA courts have been addressed by the NCAA. When you look at the three-point line, there's the same color. It's been a distraction for Kentucky. They went 3 for 15 against Massachusetts. What you will see addressed in future sites, which are NBA sites, there will be a coaching box which will be painted the right color. There will be a three-point line that will be distinguished from the NCAA line, the NBA line, and the 3-second lane will be changed to the college lane. You need a college court on an NBA scene.
You know, we talked about Jamal Mashburn. What about Mr. Leitner? How much do we love this guy, huh?
He has stepped it up to a new level. I mean, Bill knows about stepping it up in big games. I mean, Leitner's had a phenomenal career, and when his guys got hurt, Hurley and Hill, he just upped it another level. He's been phenomenal down the stretch.
Bill, how good is he?
The great thing about Leitner is that he beats you a million different ways. Outside shooting, rebounding, defensing, passing. A quick point on Digger's comment about the courts, that's hogwash. Players grow up on courts with lines everywhere. You don't look down, you look at the hoop.
You missed the layup one
You look at the hoop.
As long as you're in an argumentative mood, we're going to bring Dale Brown in here, okay, for you after a commercial. Digger's going to move out. We're going to bring the other coach in here as we continue from New York and all over the country after this. Where are you? There you are. We'll see you in a minute.
It's underground, and that's just the top here on the campus of the University of New Mexico West Regional Battle. UCLA and Indiana, time to meet the starters. Let's go to our PA announcer, Paul Douglas.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the pit at the University of New Mexico in Albuquerque for this afternoon's NCAA West Regional Final game between the Indiana Hoosiers and the UCLA Bruins. And now, let's meet the starting lineups. For Indiana at forward, a 6'6" junior from Evansville, Indiana, number 40, Calvert Chaney. For UCLA at forward, a 6'8" junior from Glendora, California, number 30, Tracy Murray. For Indiana at forward, a 6'9" freshman from Carmel, Indiana, number 44, Alan Henderson. For UCLA at forward, a 6'10" senior from Simi Valley, California, number 42, Don McLean. For Indiana at center, a 6'8" junior from Chesterton, Indiana, number 24, Matt Nover. For UCLA at guard, a 6'5" junior from Inglewood, California, number 23, Mitchell Butler. For Indiana at guard, a 6-foot junior from Peoria, Illinois, number 21, Chris Reynolds. For UCLA at guard, a 6'4" senior from Merced, California, number 12, Gerald Matkins. For Indiana at guard, a 6'3" sophomore from Heltonville, Indiana, number 22, Damon Bailey. For UCLA at guard, a 5'10" freshman from Long Beach, California, number 11, Tyus Edney. And the coaches for Indiana in his 21st season, Bobby Knight. For UCLA in his 4th season, Jim Herrick.
15 national championships between these two storied college basketball teams and their schools. Bob Knight owns 3 of them. Jim Herrick looking for his first. Our officials, John Clockerty from Raleigh, North Carolina, David Hall from Denver, Colorado, Andre Patillo from Atlanta, Georgia.
This is a game, as I said, Greg, this one is pretty evenly matched. I think that you're going to see both teams, because the heights are so similar, get a lot of switching, which is something that Indiana doesn't do a lot of. They may switch with the big guys coming out, because the big guys coming out on UCLA's team can shoot the jump shot. You've got to be aware of that. UCLA feels that they have the same kind of match. The real matchup is going to be, I think, Matkins against Calvert Chaney, because if you can shut down Chaney, you can shut down the majority of the Indiana offense.
Gerald Matkins has been the big defensive stopper for the UCLA Bruins in their road to this championship game. They knocked off 16th seed Robert Morris, number 8 seed Louisville, and the number 12 seed New Mexico State. Indiana is here with victories over Eastern Illinois, LSU, and Florida State. UCLA, the number 1 seed in white. Indiana wearing the familiar red.
Greg, you've got to know these kids from UCLA, Tracy Murray and his teammates, they know they have an opportunity to make this a successful season. They played Indiana. They know that not only is Indiana better, but talking to some of the players, they feel that UCLA is a much better team as well.
Nover and Butler wins the tap for the Bruins. Matkins and Tyus Edney are in the backcourt for the Bruins. McLean, Murray, and Butler up front.
Want to keep an eye on Matt Nover. He's guarding Don McLean. You know McLean can get inside and post up, and that's why Nover is guarding him.
McLean now double teamed outside. Matkins for 3, and that's way off the mark and out of bounds to Indiana.
Well, Greg, first of all, Gerald Matkins he could have taken a dribble and got an easier shot. That was an NBA three-pointer. You'll see a little bit of the jitters here at the top.
Chris Reynolds with the basketball and Damon Bailey in the backcourt for Indiana. Bailey into the lane. And Chaney chases it down for the Hoosiers.
Yeah, Indiana, as you may or may not know, starts slow. Here's a matchup I think is interesting. Damon Bailey has got to make Tracy Murray play defense. You know Murray can score. Make him work on the other end.
Henderson missed the shot, and the whistle down low is on Matt Nover, number 24.
That was a great call because the ball was away from the action, and John Clarkerty was right there, and he got Matt Nover holding.
The pit is packed.
Oh, and they were rocking in here early, so I expected to pick up here a little bit later.
Matkins looking for the cut that never came from Mitch Butler.
There was just a little bit of miscommunication. A little bit out of sync, I think, are both teams. You notice the ball isn't touching 4 or 5 people's hands, and I think that's important when you come out early, just so everybody can get the feel, get out of a little bit of the shakes and the shivers.
Damon Bailey is open for 3.
I guess if you can get a guy to knock down a 3, it'll break all of that up, though.
And the Hoosier is on the board first.
See, Indiana is trying to get somebody down on Tracy Murray right away. Gerald Matkins makes that shot. That's going to free it up down low for McClain. Nover.
And little Tyus Edney at 5'10", the freshman comes away with the rebound. And Matkins.
Oh, good ball fake. Good ball fake. I mean, this young man here is going to have a nice future at the next level. I mean, he can play defense. He can score. He came out a scorer in high school, so you know he can get it in the basket.
Matkins missed his first three and hit his next two. Henderson with his second miss, and back come the Bruins with a 6-3 lead.
Bruins, this is something that they are doing a lot better, I think, at this stage of the year. We talked about the comparison of both teams. The Bruins are much more patient. You see, this is inside, outside, which is just what they should do.
Great rejection by Henderson. Cheney open for three.
This is fairly common with Indiana, but for UCLA, they need to take advantage of this slow start. As a matter of fact, that's one of the things Jim Herrick wanted to do. Keep Indiana way down once they start slow.
Henderson comes away with the rebound for Indiana. And Cheney into the lane. That'll be a blocking foul. That's on Mitchell Butler, who got into foul trouble early in the game against New Mexico State 2 nights ago.
Well, he did get into foul trouble, Greg, but I think what we saw in that game and we can expect to see in this game is that UCLA is a team that's deep. You know, they can go get Derek Martin to play a little bit. They've got Ed O'Bannon to come off the bench, so they've got people that can pick up the slack there. The two players I would really...
Calvert Cheney with a 23-point effort today. And now Matt Nover. Who had 16. And Jamal Meeks at the line.
Ray, you know, I have talked to Coach Bob Knight many times, and I had the sneaking suspicion he felt this team could get to the Final Four. I mean, you know how you can just talk to people and just tell how they talked about him, and he talked about deficiencies with a sense of these are things that are correctable and they're things that'll make us difficult to believe. So some people may be surprised. I'm not nearly as surprised as probably most people, because I just heard that sense of probably getting there and talking with him.
Blocking foul on number 30, Todd Leary, a 6'3" junior, seeing his first action, and Bob Knight still hard at work teaching on the sidelines. We've talked about this before. The season-ending loss to Purdue cost them the #1 seed, cost Indiana the #1 seed in the Southeast. It may have been a blessing in disguise for Indiana to travel out to Boise.
Well, not that any of the regionals are not difficult, but I thought so for sure, because going out to the Southeast would have been, I thought, a difficult route. This way they come in here, they've got some people that they know that they can play against, and I just think there's a little less pressure coming in here for these young men coming in as the #2 seed as opposed to the #1 seed. But the loss also made these guys focus a great deal more on what they had to do and how hard they had to play to just have any kind of success during the tournament.
Coming up on the post game, we'll have more from the studio as Ed O'Bannon commits the foul, reaching over Jamal Wilkes. Two-way talk with Jerry Tarkanian.
Oh, is that a happier Eric Anderson? What about that big piece of gum he's got? My goodness. That's why he hurt his chin trying to chew that gum.
And on the other side of the court, there's always a different reaction.
Yeah, it is, because for some of the guys, I mean, you get here and it's like, all right, we got a shot to get some things done. And UCLA had such a great year that they felt that they were smack dab back into the Final Four. The big round of applause was for breaking 100, which says something about Indiana, because once they get 80 points, it's one thing. But I told you, at 7:58 to go, they had 79 points. So they've been able to shoot the ball great accuracy.
They've been averaging almost 90 a game for the tournament as Edney gets the follow. Leary and number 50, Lindemann, is also in the Indiana lineup right now.
Yeah, Leary is a guy that can really shoot the ball. Lindemann is a freshman from Michigan that they think is going to be a pretty good player. When I first saw him, he really struggled because he played in competition that was not as tough as this is. But now he's starting to come along. He's somebody they have great confidence in for the next few years.
Let's take a moment to tell you the coordinating producer of NCAA basketball on CBS is Bob Dekas. Today's West Regional Final was produced by Mark Wolf and directed by Sandy Grossman. The senior producer of CBS Sports is Ed Gorin, and the executive producer of CBS Sports is the proud new papa of a baby boy, Ted Shaker. "45 seconds. Here's the freshman. And fights his way to the loose ball and a foul.
Well, he got himself on the scorebook with a miss, and now he can get a chance to get some with some foul shots.
Our Chevrolet players of the game today: Matt Nover from Indiana, Gerald Madkins from UCLA. And Ed O'Bannon leaves the court. Lindemann hits it.
You're talking about having a little fun?
The fuss this week. The fuss this week.
Oh, my goodness.
Was Bob Knight playfully taking a whip to the backside of Calbert Cheney. Calbert returns the favor.
Not only returns the favor, there's no chance that there was any ill intent when those two guys were playing. And that was what Bob Knight was trying to show with that little movement on the other side.
Henderson saves it.
No need to shoot it.
They're going to get it to the freshman, who was fouled with 3.3 to play. Well, we know there was no ill intent. But let's just see what comes of those latest pictures, shall we? Always find someone to complain. 105-79.
You know, the thing that really has helped catapult Bob Knight and his Indiana Hoosiers into I think a higher emotional state, I think, was the benching, oddly enough, of Jamal Meeks and Eric Anderson, because they were the two seniors and wanted to make sure that they've got everything going. And and they did. They were able to get them psyched up, ready to play, and on their way to Minneapolis.
At the buzzer, it's all over. The Indiana Hoosiers are champions of the West Regional and are the first members of the Final Four in Minneapolis next week. The West bracket is complete. Second seed Indiana with a win over Florida State Thursday night and a 106-79 victory over UCLA here this afternoon. Champions of the West, the Indiana Hoosiers. For Quinn Buckner and Andrea Joyce, I'm Greg Gumbel. Pat O'Brien back in New York after this.
Amazing to me always how quickly they can get a hat that tells them where they're going next in this business. But Indiana is going to the Final Four in Minneapolis as they, boy, I thought UCLA would show up today, but they sure didn't do that. Let's move ahead, though. We were talking last night in the taxi cab.
Leitner. He'll shoot a couple. First foul on Feldhaus.
That's his first personal foul. Christian Leitner, number 32, will be the free throw shooter for the Blue Devils.
Leitner and Davis both with 4. Martinez is out. Pelfrey, Brown, and Woods with 4. Leitner shoots. He's perfect from the line today.
You know, here's where the mind game comes in. Duke really hasn't been pushed throughout this tournament, and now they're one step away from the Final Four, and this is the toughest game they've had. Are they going to wilt, or is it the mental aspect of the game, something they've commanded throughout this season? Is it going to leave them? By contrast, Kentucky, an overachieving team, you know, they're up against it as well. They have to have precise execution down the stretch, and that's mental pressure.
Here comes Hurley scooting through the Kentucky defense. Puts it back out to Hill, and they'll reset. 90 seconds remaining.
See Pelfrey there screaming, let's go, let's go.
Leitner with Mashburn defending. 18 on the shot clock. Thomas Hill. Yes! Pelfrey to Feldhaus. Sean Woods takes Hurley. Comes up short. Leitner rebound.
I think Woods had in the back of his mind to hit Mashburn out in three-point territory, changed his mind in midair. He never really got under the shot. You got to make crisp decisions in this type of game.
On a play for Leitner, top of the post. Top of the key, rather. Timeout, Duke. 54.5 seconds remaining. We're tied at 98. They won the national championship in March a year ago, defeating Kansas. They have been ranked #1 in the country 18 weeks in a row. They come in as the #1 seed. And the Duke Blue Devils now find themselves tied 98 all, 54.5 seconds to go in overtime against a gritty bunch of Kentucky Wildcats. 4 seniors for Kentucky: Pelfrey, Farmer, Feldhaus, and Woods. And the sophomore Jamal Mashburn.
You know, it's hard to really detect what Duke is going to do because they have so many weapons, but they got to really take a little time off the clock unless you can get Leitner down on the post one-on-one.
12 seconds on the shot clock. Dale Brown goes for the steal, doesn't get it. Duke ball, 5 seconds to shoot.
Kentucky has had a habit of fouling with a few seconds left on the clock, bailing the Duke offensive player out now.
Grant Hill inbounds. Leitner. Oh, my goodness! How did he get the shot off? Leitner for 2. Mashburn. Fouled. He'll shoot 1.
told you at the beginning of this telecast, Mashburn and Leitner, two big men of the 90s.
Rick Pitino in his third year as head coach at Kentucky. Mashburn to break the tie. Pitino wants a timeout. Kentucky by 1. 19.6 seconds left in overtime. Jamal Mashburn hit a field goal and was fouled with 19.6 seconds left. Hit the free throw. That put Kentucky up by 1. Both teams have one timeout left. The possession arrow, Duke. Grant Hill will inbound. Feldhouse guards it. They find Hurley. Now they find Leitner. And he is fouled by Mashburn. 5 fouls on Jamal Mashburn.
That is his fifth personal foul. That is over the personal foul.
28 points, 10 rebounds for the sophomore from New York City. And Duke will put a 3-time All-American at the free throw line.
You know, you couldn't want a better competitor on the free throw line than Christian Leitner. You almost have to assume he's going to make both of them. But if Kentucky inbounds the ball and they get it into their front court, they got to make the loss of Mashburn work for them. You know, they've got some three-point shooters out there. They've got a lot of ball handlers out there who can penetrate and dish.
Christian Leitner has made his last 17 free throws in a row, including 8 tonight. Duke by 1. Timeout, Kentucky.
You know, Rick Pitino wanted to call a timeout. He didn't like what he saw defensively from Duke. It's a big risk, though. His team had possession. They had it in their front court. Now you have to inbound the ball against a Duke team, which is probably the best denied team in the country. So Rick Pitino, in an effort to try to get something set, has great confidence in the person who's going to inbound the ball.
So it comes down to the 4 seniors who stuck around for Kentucky. Richie Farmer will inbound it, the pride of Clay County. Darren Feldhouse and John Pelfrey are in. Sean Woods and Dale Brown, a JC transfer. 7.8 seconds remaining. Woods. Yes!
Man.
How did he find the courage to take that kind of shot?
You know, it went in, okay? But that was a terrible shot. And by terrible, I mean, here he is working against a 6'11" guy. Not your highest of percentage shots. But as I mentioned, it goes in. What can you say?
Watch Jamal Mashburn. And I think back to Rick Pitino at the press conference yesterday talking about Sean Woods. Watch the Duke bench react. He said of Sean Woods, he became a leader on this team this year when he realized he wasn't a scorer.
Well, fortunate for Rick Pitino, a little amnesia for Sean Woods.
2.1 seconds left. No team has repeated as NCAA champions since UCLA did it in 1973. Will the dream die here for Duke?
And you know, John Pelfrey was calling for that ball when Woods had it and started his penetration. Woods had his mind made up. He was going to make it or miss it. The game was put in his hands.
Rick Pitino said of his 4 seniors when asked why they stuck around with the school going on probation, nobody else wanted them. They had no place else to go. Pelfrey, Feldhaus, and Farmer grew up in Kentucky. Sean Woods in Indianapolis.
You know, one of the things I've seen Duke do in the past in situations like this is try for the quick pass to half court and call a quick timeout so they can get in better shooting range.
There's the pass to Leitner. Puts it up. Yes!
We talked about a quick pass to half court, but with people playing behind Christian Leitner.
Grant Hill, whose dad was a football player and scored on a halfback pass 2 days after he was born, finds Christian Leitner with a 50-foot pass, and he puts it in from 15 for the game winner.
Take a look at the Duke reaction. And there's the contrast.
Right now, let's go to Leslie Visser.
Well, there were a couple of miracles apparently left in the Duke program. Christian, first to you, congratulations. What were you trying to do on the last shot?
Well, thank you. We just started a good play. Grant made a great pass. And when it went in, I couldn't believe it. That happened to me twice in a career, and it was just incredible.
Did you feel he wouldn't foul you? You were safe taking the shot?
I thought if I could create some distance, they wouldn't foul me, no, because we've been shooting our free throws real well all day.
Tremendous effort, Mike, throughout the whole. What did you want?
I'll tell you what, just to say something, first of all, about the Kentucky kids. What a tremendous, tremendous effort. And it wasn't a game that anybody lost. Whoever had the ball last won. And we were really lucky, and we beat a very determined and a great basketball team.
One of the most emotional wins for you?
Yeah, it was I don't know if CBS could get any better games than this. It was an unbelievable game where kids made great plays.
Thank you. On to the Final Four for the 5th straight time. Back to you.
All right, Leslie. No, Mike, we couldn't get any better games. Jamal Mashburn and Christian Leitner are Chevrolet players of the game. Leitner with the game winner. He was 10 of 10 from the field in the second half. 31 points, 7 rebounds. And it'll be Duke and Indiana next Saturday. Tomorrow, Michigan State, Ohio State, and Memphis State, Cincinnati. Final score again, 104-103 Duke. Let's catch our breath. Here's Pat.
Catch our breath. We're trying to do that here in New York. Wow. Reminder to stay tuned tonight for CBS Saturday movie, The Dream Team. Tomorrow starts your sports viewing day with CBS Sports Sunday's coverage of the American Ski Classic. Then at 1 o'clock Eastern, we'll head out for the last 2 stops on the road to the Final Four. Memphis State and Cincinnati will tip off the Midwest Regional Final at 1:42 Eastern. Michigan and Ohio State will follow in the Southeast at 4 o'clock Eastern. 2 teams are in, Indiana and Duke. 2 to go. Until tomorrow, I'm Pat O'Brien in New York. For all of us here at CBS, wow, wow, wow. Good night, everybody.